Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to call this meeting back to order today for our Thursday, September the 14th, 2023 special call board meeting. Welcome everybody here today, and I see we have a large crowd in the audience today. And we got press here with us today. That's always good. And anybody in the virtual world, thank you for coming. Our first item on our agenda today would be our county administrator items. Tadlock, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, it was for the purpose of review of applications for the District 5 position, so it would be going into closed meeting, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Do I have a motion to go into closed meeting with the appropriate language?
I'll move what Mr. Tadlock says.
Need a motion that the Northumberland County Board of Supervisors convene in closed meeting pursuant to Virginia Freedom of Information Act, Section 2.2, 37A1 for the discussion and consideration of personnel matters. I invited to attend the closed meeting as necessary are the county administrator, county attorney, and assistant county administrator because they are deemed necessary. Their presence will reasonably aid the board in its consideration of topics to be discussed pursuant to Virginia FOIA Section 2.2, 3712F.
All right, Tommy, you made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be going into closed meeting. You want to do it in here or go to the other? A closed meeting with the appropriate language. Mr. Tadlock, whenever you're ready.
Sir, I need a motion that the Northumberland Board of Supervisors return to public meeting and certify by roll call vote that only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by the Virginia Freedom of Information Act and as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered during the closed meeting.
I move we do what Mr. Tadlock said.
All right, I got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, roll call vote by Mr. Long.
Aye.
Mr. Brand.
Aye.
Mr. Tomlin.
Aye.
And I vote aye. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back out of closed meeting into open meeting now. All right, what's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Mr. Maurice Johnson as interim.
All right, I'll second that. We have a motion and a second. Do we have any other discussion?
My motion is nothing in any way against Ms. Starrett, but she's running for election, and I feel if she were by my vote to be there, would be giving preference to one candidate versus another in a contested election. And I do the same thing if Mr. Williams was up there and Ms. Starrett not.
Ms. Starrett, I feel the same way. I know we are cousins, and we go back. I don't know how many cousins it is back, but we are kin. It's not affecting my decision, but I don't want the public to think that we are endorsing a candidate. Ma'am?
No.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You can make a comment. I'll let you make a comment. Okay. All right. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much for that. All right. Any other comments? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those against?
Nay.
All right. The motion passes 3-1. Mr. Johnson, congratulations. You will need to do your economic statement and get sworn in as soon as Mr. Tadlock gives you the appropriate paperwork. All right?
That's one thing. Now
You
get
got one
sworn in.
thing that will go to Mr. Tadlock. Anything else you need?
Well, we will need to get with Mary Dotson,
Yeah.
and we'll be in touch with you.
Well, you get sworn in before the clerk's office. You would have to go to the clerk's office to be sworn in.
Yeah. Do you have anything you have to send over or anything?
We can do a letter just so that they know that,
Yeah.
that he was
All right.
appointed by the
All
board.
right.
Yeah.
And then you can get all your other information from Mary and everything from him.
Correct.
All right? All right. Gentlemen, I don't have anything else on the
Yes, we do.
agenda.
Mr. Tadlock had one other issue that came up in closed meeting.
I'm sorry, that is right. Thank you,
What's his
Tom.
name?
It's
All right, Mr.
Arthur
Tadlock.
Barkley.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Arthur Berkeley as interim building inspector, subject to a contract that's approved by yourself and Mr. Gregory as county attorney.
All right, we got a motion.
A second.
We got a second. We got a motion, second. Got any other discussion on that?
Building official. I stand corrected, which I need occasionally.
All right, is that okay with you?
Yes.
All right. All right, any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those against? Motion passes. Anything else you want us to take care of?
That was it.
All right. We don't have anything else on the agenda. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ladies and gentlemen, we have closed our August meeting.
You really ought to try to get ahead of the game, won't you?
Yeah, uh-huh.
I presume.
So we wait till 5:30 to start our
That's what I was
September
gonna
meeting.
Get back in touch with him.
Gentlemen, I'd like to call this meeting to order today for our September the 14th, 2023 board meeting. Welcome everybody here today. And everybody's in the courtroom, everybody's in the virtual world. Would like to thank everybody for coming. Our first item on our agenda today is an invocation by Pastor Lee Farmer.
The opportunity to offer a prayer on your behalf.
Thank you.
Gracious God, thank you for the blessings and opportunities of the community that we live in. We thank you for our Board of Supervisors and their willingness to sacrifice and serve. We pray your guidance upon their actions tonight, that everything they do will be for the best for our community. We ask these things in your Son's name. Amen.
All right, next item is the Pledge of Allegiance. Everybody stand, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag All right, our next item would be the approval of the agenda. Do we have any additions or deletions to it? Anyone have anything? Tadlock, you have anything? All right, can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion on it? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, next would be approval of the minutes. We have two sets of minutes. We have an August 10th, 2023 board meeting. We have an August 24th, 2023 Are there any additions or deletions to those minutes?
I move that we approve both sets.
Both sets, all right. Have a motion to approve both sets. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, got a motion and a second. Got any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Next would be our presentations. Next would be resolutions for Fire Prevention Week. Mr. Basie?
Whereas each year since 1922, Fire Prevention Week is observed to commemorate the Great Chicago Fire that took place on October 8, 1871. And whereas Fire Prevention Week is the longest running public health and safety observance in our country, and whereas we recognize the efforts of all firefighters, fire service agencies, and other first responders that aid in preventing and combating fire dangers, and whereas we thank them for their dedication, sacrifice, hard work, and for putting their lives on the line for the sake of our community. Whereas the 2023 Fire Prevention Week theme, Cooking Safety Starts With You, Pay Attention to Fire Prevention, effectively educates everyone about the simple but important actions to take to keep others and themselves safe while cooking. Therefore, the Northumberland County Board of Supervisors do hereby proclaim October 8 through 14, 2023 as Fire Prevention Week, and we urge all citizens of Northumberland County to pay attention to these actions to keep everyone safe while cooking.
All right, thank you. All right, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. We have any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, I know we have some people here from the fire departments here. Come on up, please.
Mr. Brand, you can go stand with him.
Yeah, come on, Jimmy.
Since you is chief.
I don't want that to happen.
Then we have to get other kind of first responders.
Tell you what, I'm gonna do one at a time. Thank y'all for the service that you do now. It's a wonderful service. I'm having y'all. And now, upon the,
You presented to our president.
all right. Thank you for your service up on the upper end, Cali area, which you serve all down this way and all too. And very appreciative of the service. Thank you, Mr. Brand, for all the help you do on the fire department.
Both departments work well together and depend on each other as like one big department on the county.
I am thankful that we have all the volunteers that serve us. No pleasure to have you. Thank you. I should just stayed up there. Right, Local? All right, next would be a resolution for First Responders Day. Mr. Basie?
Whereas first responders often risk their lives and safety in the performance of their duties, and whereas first responders are our first and best defense against all emergencies that threaten our community, first responders are highly trained, specialized workers who contribute their excellent skill for the public good, and first responders sacrifice much of their personal time with family and friends to ensure the safety of their community. Whereas first responders, whether career or volunteer, selflessly provide a vital public service for the Northumberland County community. And now for there be proclaimed that on the 11th day of September, that the Northumberland County Board of Supervisors, as does the state of Virginia, recognizes First Responders Day and hereby thanks Callio Volunteer Rescue Squad, Mid-County Volunteer Rescue Squad, Northumberland Rescue Squad, Callio Volunteer Fire Department, Fairfields Volunteer Fire Department, Smith Point Sea Rescue, Northumberland Sheriff's Office, Northumberland Department of Emergency Services, and other organizations in the public safety sector for their service and sacrifice to our community.
All right, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion, second. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All right. I have a whole handful here, so we'll start with, I guess we'll start with Callio since they're first on the list here. Welcome, Callio, want to come on up? Callio Rescue Squad, I'm sorry. Welcome, Callio, out here.
Apparently not.
All right. Callio Fire Department. Come
Come on, Jimmy.
on again, Jim. All right. Same order again.
Same order.
Same order again. Thank you very much for all your service and all we love it. Glad we got y'all. Thank you too, Jimmy. All right, we got Mid-County Rescue Squad.
That's the other agencies. Other organizations.
Come on up, ladies and gentlemen. Might take cool. I won't let you fall so far. Oh, you did.
Yeah, we got you covered.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, I do appreciate the service that y'all provide, and I've used it, my mom uses it, a whole lot of people use it, and I am very appreciative of what everyone does. I'd like to thank y'all very much for your service.
Thank you.
All right. All right, thank y'all very much. Let's see, Northumberland County, Northumberland Rescue Squad?
Yep.
Come on, Tom.
Give it to Pat.
Pat? All right. Come on, Pat. How y'all doing?
Good.
I'd like to thank y'all very much for all the wonderful service y'all do down there. And you can come all the way up Cali or anywhere it's needed. Everybody, all the squads go, fire departments go everywhere. Appreciate it very much. Thank y'all. Thank you, Tom. Fairfields Volunteer Fire Department.
Watch the court again.
Present this to y'all, thank y'all very much. And I've said a lot of things with the fire department, and I appreciate everything that y'all done. All right, thank y'all. Smith Point Sea Rescue. All right. Present this to y'all. Thank y'all very much for the services y'all provided on that ribbon that day.
Okay, glad to do it.
It's needed.
We'll try to be there.
It is. It's very needed. Thank y'all. Northumberland County Sheriff's Office. Come on, job. You all right? You need to exercise.
You can get your picture taken on the job.
I'm ready to say, but. All right. Who wants it? Sheriff. All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
for all the
Appreciate it.
service y'all do.
Absolutely.
You keep up the good work.
Will do.
And keep these good guys like this on
Will
the
do.
force.
Yep.
All right, we got Northumberland Department of Emergency Services. you for a job well done,
Thank you, sir.
taking care of all this EMS here.
It's a
Appreciate
group
it.
effort.
Group effort,
Group effort.
appreciate
Yes,
it
sir.
very much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Curtis.
Hazmat? Come on, Curtis. You thought you would get off, didn't you?
91 to the rescue.
Thank you, Curtis. Thank you for all the work you do. Thank you very much.
Welcome to this. I think we got it.
He got him all.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think she had an extra.
never hurts.
All right. The next item is the EVB roof replacement update. Dave Lible. Hello, sir. How you doing today?
I'm doing fine.
I think you got to undo that other part there to get it come up a little bit higher.
Engineer, so I need help.
All right.
Thank
All
you,
right,
Chair and Board. I appreciate you inviting me here. I was here about eight months ago or something like that. We were talking about the roofing process. We're looking at about 6,500 square feet of flat roof. That's what we're working on now. We did hold a pre-bid meeting. We had 9 roofing contractors that showed up. Part of my process, I also invited about 20, including contractors and plan rooms, to try to make sure we had enough people come to the pre-bid meeting. Try to invite locals also, because we like to keep business local if we can. We received 7 bids from good roofing companies. We recommend Elion, I probably pronounced it wrong, I'm sorry if I did, as the apparent low bidder. I did some background check on them. They've got a good contractor license, those kind of things, checked references. I'm expecting really good work out of them. September 7th, last week, we held a pre-construction meeting, and at that meeting, we basically talk about, well, you got a list, but safety, communication, which is very important nowadays. We had Jeff and Mike come from the school system to help coordinate that part of the work so they know what we're doing and where we're doing it. Reviewed the submittals to make sure what they're submitting is what I designed. The whole purpose of this is a long-term roofing solution for you. We're doing a 60 mil, 20-year warranted roof. The manufacturer will guarantee it for 20 years. The contractor will get the first 2 years of the warranty. We're going with tapered system. The average R value now is going to be about 38. What you have there now is about an R12, so will help improve the heating and cooling of the building. Tapered, which will help water runoff go across the slate and go down to the gutters, which will help eliminate leaking problems, which you don't want any. We're demoing the drive-through. Part of that is we'll do lockdown or lockout, tag out of the electric, make sure we don't electrocute anybody or cause any fires. Part of it also, we're going to take out some of the concrete drive-through, re-pour it, make a smooth transition on where the drive-through comes out. We got repair of broken slate. We'll do cleanup. Scheduled to start, material be possibly delivered tomorrow, if not Monday. They're scheduled to start work on Monday. And we're hoping 3 weeks with good weather. But we give them till beginning of November for contract, but they should be able, with good weather, be out in 3 weeks.
All right.
Any
Any
other-
board members have any questions?
I know y'all had great questions last time, so.
Yeah. No questions this time?
Well, we will have some questions with construction start, maybe.
Yeah. Oh, we appreciate all the help you've been.
Thank you.
I'm excited about it. You need a roof there bad.
Need a roof? Sooner we get one on there, the better.
Yes, and one that doesn't leak.
Yeah.
That's the
That's a very
thing.
important part.
We want a good, tight roof that does not leak.
And part of what I require is they tear off, they put back and dry in every day. We don't want any surprises with a thunderstorm that comes up, floods the building. So, I mean, that's all part of the process, and we discussed all that in a pre-construction meeting.
If anything is exposed during the taking off the old and before they get it in, they're gonna be tarping any?
We should not tarp.
Okay.
They should put new back as they go. And we do a tie-in between it, and part of what I tell them is the first layer of permanent flashing every night before they leave.
Gotcha.
I hate to walk on a roof and find somebody putting caulking, you know, they can go ahead and flash it, the first layer, then we don't have to worry. I like to sleep at night. Thunderstorms come, I like to be able to sleep through them. So, but great questions. Any other?
Any questions?
No.
Staff have any questions?
Not at this time.
No, I appreciate Dave's help on this project. He's certainly been a big asset in getting us started, and great to work with you. Appreciate it.
Well, I enjoy working with you and Drew. Well, Drew some, but it's
Dr.
been a good
Walgrove?
process.
Oh, excuse me. I didn't mean to cut you off. Dr. Walgrove, you have any questions since the roof's going on the building you're in?
No, sir. Communication has been great. Thank you for asking.
All right, thank you. All right. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank y'all.
All right, next item would be an update from Virginia Department of Transportation. David Beal, good to see you.
Hey, good to be here. Thank you. We've been busy. We're patching potholes countywide. We repaired some shoulders on Cedar Point Road. We've cut brush on 200 and Bluff Point. We finished the jack and bore replacement on 200, and we actually have another pipe outfall to work on 200 just south of Wacomico. We finished the pipe replacement and ditch cleaning on Monday Point, and I'm still waiting to hear on the review on the guardrail at that location. At a minimum, we'll put back object markers, but I'm still waiting to hear from the district on the guardrail. There's an inlet. We did an inlet drainage inlet repair on 360. We completed our mowing and litter cycle, and we've been working on work orders. Some of the stuff that's on your list for upcoming work is also completed now. The ditch cleaning is complete on Fruit Plain and Valley Drive. The pipe replacements, we did one of those on Altown today. The rest of those are still on the list. We'll continue to patch potholes. We've cleaned pipes on all those routes except for we still have to finish the ones on Fruit Plain and Brooks Lane. We'll continue to work on work orders. The grading work for the shoulder on Lively Hope is complete. We still have the brush work to do in the Ditchley area and on Cobb Hall. And then we'll also be working on sign maintenance. The paving in Reedville is almost complete. The asphalt's almost done. We still have the striping and markers and rumble strips to put on. And that's about it. The guardrail on 200 is coming. And the pipe on Remo Road is full of tree roots and it's rotted, needs to be replaced.
All right. I knew there was a problem. I couldn't tell you what.
I don't know if water's flowing through it or not, but if we try to cut the roots out, we'll destroy what's left of the pipe.
No, a
So
lot of times,
we'll
in
just
a heavy
replace it at
rain,
some
it's
point.
starting to come out into the road. Even sometimes it's been halfway out in the road, to the center line.
Okay. Well, that's all I have. You all have anything for me?
I got one thing I wanted to tell you, and this is for the entire board. Tina Hinton, up here across from the YMCA.
New Bloom.
Hmm?
New Bloom.
New Bloom, yeah, New Bloom. Thank you, Tommy. She has the vegetable stand and all there. She has made a request because her customers are complaining about the traffic issues there, of having to try to get out when traffic is coming in at 55 miles per hour on the 45. They're coming from both ways, plus it's a blind turn in there. Blind turn coming from this way going out back toward Callio. A lot of the motorists are not slowing down till they get back down, another quarter mile, you know. So is there any way you could do a speed study on that part of that road all the way down, back to the 35, if we're getting it dropped down?
I think what she wanted was to try to extend the 35 mile an
Yeah.
hour zone.
Extend it.
Yeah.
I think she wants to
Down.
extend it further back
Yeah,
towards
she wants to
Callio.
extend it back, but I guess we'd have to do a speed study to
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah, it's 45 right in front of her
Yeah,
place right there.
45 right there.
Yeah, but when it comes back from 4 lanes to a combined road is but where the 45
Yeah.
starts.
Right there.
So it's a speed issue, but, I mean, it's law enforcement issue, but whether or not it's justified to extend the 35 back toward
Yeah.
Callio is a question.
Okay, we can look into it, and if you just get with me and help me verify the location. I'm not familiar with her stand, but,
YMCA right up here.
right,
Basically directly across the road.
okay, so it's between
Right there.
there and the 4 lane?
Yeah,
Yes.
It's right there, it's just before the 4 lane,
It's before Dotlet Road.
yeah, right before Dotlet Road, right there. That's the area right there, and the 35 is on down,
Down by the church.
yeah,
Okay.
down by the church. So if it could be extended up,
Back
that
toward
would
the
really make a difference in there.
Okay, we'll review it.
Or if you maybe push the 45 further out on
Out,
360
yeah.
toward Callio.
Okay,
Then they would have less reason not to be slowing down.
I'll look at it on my way out of town.
I just want the whole
Yeah.
board to get all of that, to have the whole board be involved. Mr. Long, you have anything?
Yes. Want to thank you for mowing that grass on those 2 spots across from Mallet Bay and also Good Luck Road. And a lot of people appreciate that. Just want to thank you.
All right, thank you.
No, you,
Got anything?
I got a question and an observation. First off, question, when do guardrails get replaced? How much damage does it have to be to replace? Because sometimes I've seen some guardrails have been damaged, I forgot for how many years. I mean, that's what I've always wondered. Now, if it's curled, one time it was curled up when somebody hit it, and that was replaced. But on 200th, basically you see a lot of dents and dings into it, and sometimes it may be a foot or better indentation in.
Yeah, I'm honestly not sure what the threshold is, how many linear feet have to be damaged before
Okay.
they replace the whole thing. I will tell you, we have guardrail hits, and we have a guardrail hits contract. So I know there's a place on 200, we have some barrels out, we've been
Yeah.
waiting for that to get
Yeah, I know.
replaced. And it's coming.
Gotcha, okay,
I think hopefully sooner than later, but I can't tell you when.
okay.
But
My
I can find
observation-
out. I'm sure they have a method.
I would hope so. You got a method for everything else,
Right.
so. My observation is the paving on 360 Northumberland Highway, Lehigh did it differently than anywhere else I've seen. One, the milling equipment they used was the smallest thing I'd ever seen. It wasn't a wider one. It's almost like you'd use to do sidewalks almost. But then, instead of milling both lanes of the road all the way down before they started asphalting, they were doing one side milling and asphalt that, and then come and do the other. And then there was one strip right there as you turned to go down to Sunnybank Road. You had the center section of where you got the little wider area because you got the road. They had a strip, it may have been that wide, and may have widened out to that they had, last thing they did was that. So you had to end up milling a little bit of new asphalt. It's different than the way I've ever seen them do it.
Well, part of that is because if you remember last year in Heathville, when we milled everything up, there was dust everywhere
Oh, I
and
know.
chaos. So this year's contract, we put
Okay.
in there that they had to pave back whatever they milled the same day. So we didn't have the exposed, there's not a lot of asphalt structure in these curb and gutter
Yeah.
kind of village areas in the county, all over through the
Yeah.
entire northern neck. So when you mill it, you get into the dirt, and then it just, if you get any rain at all, you just, there's a big
Okay.
risk there. So
I was just
we
wondering.
put in the contract, so
Gotcha.
they probably used a smaller machine because
They
they
did.
knew they were only doing a little bit at a time.
Yeah, they were doing a little bit at a time.
Yeah,
The traffic control wasn't bad this time, I'll say
oh,
that.
good.
I was just curious, it's different from what I'd seen before.
Anything else? Thanks for getting the grass cut.
No, you're welcome.
Yep, looks good. It's made a lot of difference.
Thank you.
Staff have any comments? All right. Mr. Bill, thank you very much.
All right, thank you all. Take care.
Next is an update from Northumberland County Schools, Dr. Wargrove and Ms. Booth.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and Supervisors.
Good afternoon.
So I'm going to run through some school division highlights, and you have a paper copy of that you can follow with. And then Mrs. Booth will give some finance updates. We have parent-teacher conferences coming up on September 21st. That's this coming Thursday. It's from 4 to 6 p.m. We already talked about the partial roof replacement. So we have relocated to Academic Lane. We are in each building using spaces as we find them. And our phone number still works, the same phone number. What would I say, when you call in, you will be directly transferred to us, so there's no confusion with that. And if somebody wants to meet with us for an in-person meeting, they're welcome to do that as well. I give out my cell phone number freely, and everyone is always welcome to contact me if that's not working. So we're excited about the roof replacement. This week, next, we had a visiting guest speaker, former history teacher, many of you know him, Mr. Wyatt Garland. He came and visited our 4th grade talented and gifted students, and he taught us about Northumberland County history, history of the Northern Neck, and history in the Commonwealth of Virginia. So some nice photos are featured there. Following that, we celebrated Edwardsville Day last Saturday. Thank you to Mr. Long and everyone who invited us. We've included in this newsletter, you can see that Mrs. Ellen Kirby is the Grand Marshal of the Edwardsville Day Parade. We had our JROTC in the parade, cheerleaders, and we also highlighted all of the firefighters who were there.
The Northumberland Rescue Squad was there until we got a call.
Gotcha. Well, that was definitely more important, so
Yeah.
thank you for your service. Following that, you can see our middle school volleyball team. They have begun their competitions, and I featured some snapshots of the middle school volleyball team playing Caroline Middle School on Tuesday. I believe this evening they're at St. Clair Walker competing with Middlesex. Our Chesapeake Bay Governor's School students were spotlighted by the Virginia Department of Education, so we included some highlights on that. At the elementary school, we started a new tradition. We're having our high school football players go down in the mornings to meet and greet the little ones as they are dropped off, both by the buses as well as the car riders. So that was really fun. You can see that the Indian also visited the little ones, and they were very excited about that. We had a ribbon cutting ceremony on Monday, and that's for the new construction of the JROTC building, athletic and academic complex. The school board is accepting applications for a student school board member, and details are listed there. We are asking for the applications to be submitted by September 29th. For athletic tickets, we are going to a new online system, so we're excited for that. And we have athletic prices listed for you. There are season passes available for adults, senior adults, and students. And I'm not going to go through the rest of the information, but it's there for you to peruse. If you look at the last page of the packet, you'll see upcoming athletic events for the week ahead. We do have a home football game next Saturday. That's a week from this Saturday. So next Saturday, we'll have a football game at home at 1 p.m. So that concludes some of the highlights that just happened, and now Mrs. Booth will give you some other updates.
Thank you. Good evening, gentlemen. The original grant amount for ESSER 2 was $1,550,184.97. In April, we had $849,688.61 outstanding. We have now submitted reimbursement requests for all of those funds. $162,776.41 was reimbursed to the county in August. $301,024.18 was received on September 1st. And the final amount of that grant, $87,977.36, will be received tomorrow through electronic fund transfer. So at that point, we have completely closed out our ESSER 2 funds and are continuing to reimburse. We have multiple grants that the spending has to happen by September 30th of 2023, and those have to be reimbursed by November of 2023, but I think all of that will be finished by October. Do y'all have any questions for me?
Yes, I'd like to thank all the kids and everyone took part in the Eversville Day, and the community too. One of the largest ones we had. So I just want to thank you. Also, retired Major Clarence Dameron was a co-grand marshal too.
Gotcha.
So, right.
I can fix that because this hasn't totally gone out yet.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Jimmy?
Don't have anything?
We're good.
No? Except I'm glad you're getting a roof.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Have a good evening.
thank you. All right, next item would be our county administrator's report.
Yes, sir. Only got a few items here. We had, for the month of August, 9 new structures. Total construction cost for the month is $5.1 million. Total construction cost year-to-date is $37.8 million, which puts us approximately $1.9 million below this time last year. In your packet, you have some information. The Department of Juvenile Justice is requesting that each locality provide a resolution for the Virginia Juvenile Community Crime Control Act. In the past, the fiscal agent, which is Westmoreland County, has just had to complete this resolution, but they are asking each of the localities to approve this resolution to agree that Westmoreland does serve as the fiscal agent.
I move we approve this resolution.
All right, I got a motion to have second.
Second.
All right, we got a motion second. Have any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Next item, the Planning Commission has completed the report for the county properties. You have a copy of that report in your board docs. I don't know if the board has any specific questions, if you'd like more time to review that.
Pleasure of the board.
As going through that, I see where they've recommended some parcels, investigate selling, but it would be helpful to have a value of that property to try to get some numbers together.
We can pull some more information together for you all.
And let's take a look at it again next month.
Yeah.
All right, is that the way the rest of the board feels? All right, we'll look at that again next month.
All right. Next item I have is the permit fees. The board had asked staff to review the cost and make suggestions on updating those costs. We did compare our fees to adjoining localities. We also reviewed the cost to do the ads in the two papers for 2 weeks for specific advertisements. And we also took into consideration staff time that it took to do the ad, send out notifications to adjoining property owners, and actually mailing of those adjoining property owner notifications. So this is just a suggested fee schedule. I don't know if the board has any comments, requests to look at anything further. There is one fee on there that is new. The bottom one, this proposed fee, would be a building inspection for short-term rentals. If you recall, in some of those, the board requires that a smoke detector or carbon monoxide detector be present, and that's what that fee would be tied to.
And when and if the board wanted to make these changes, this would be by resolution or by public hearing?
We do have it in our ordinance, so it would be by public hearing, would be my.
I move that we go ahead and have a public hearing on it, and we can, one, to give us time to think about it, but then we won't have to put it off another month if you wanted to do something too. There has been concern about the under cost in terms of what it does to the staff and the expense of advertising. So again, I would move that we advertise it for next month.
Next month, all right.
I second that.
Got a motion and a second. Got any other discussion?
When was the last time that the fees were adjusted?
It's been a while. I was just going back on our site to see if they had tagged the date. Some of them had been more recent.
Yeah.
Because it's various fees, but it was probably, I'd hate to even guess. It's been probably over 10 years since they've been, probably 10, 15 years since they've been modified. But some of them are newer fees, like the no wake zones. That was a fee that we recently adopted. I think that was 2021. So.
All right, any other comments? Not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against?
The last item I have is the electoral board had requested some information, requested additional space for the presidential election next year. We are following up on that request, and we'll get back with the board with additional information related to that. One thing we have to be careful about is the timing of, if we do make any changes, we would have to have a public hearing in time to hold those primaries and different elections. So
This would be for both primary and general election?
that is
Okay.
what they're asking for.
Yeah, but it's going to, primary, when did that?
March.
March.
I believe.
Super Tuesday,
Uh,
like March the 5th, I think it is.
But I just wanted to let the board know that we are working on that. So. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Next item would be Board of Supervisor items. We have approval of the check register. Everybody had a chance to review the check register?
Yes, I move that we approve.
All right, I got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion on that check register? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Next would be board comments. Start with you, Mr. Long.
Yes, Ms. Tadlock, the update on the old school board office.
Kind of the same status. We have not made any decisions or made any, reviewed anything on that. We've been tied up with several other obligations, so as soon as we can, we could start looking at that.
Yeah, I know it's at least one or two might be interested in buying it. That's reason. Okay, the next thing, you know, I asked about a few businesses. I know we got a lot of Family Dollars and Dollar Trees. We probably lead the nation in that. But McDonald's, you know, other businesses that surrounding counties have that we should have, you know. I know we got a bread and breakfast coming pretty soon, that's good. But we need to let the committee check and see some of the other businesses would fit in Northumberland.
Yes, sir. We'll pass that on to economic development. I know they've been waiting for a full committee, and they have that now, so they can proceed forward with some things there.
Okay, thank you.
Everything else?
No, that's it.
Jimmy?
Could we look into and see how much it would cost to put a permanent water line into the Lotsburg dump site and not have a 200-foot of water hose stretched from the pump house to the site? I'd like for them to be able to have water there during the winter months to keep that pad clean on the days it's not freezing. Just see how much it would cost.
We'll get that information.
The dairy freeze in Gallio has been sold, but from what I understand, it's the new owners are gonna reopen it, so, she may be closed. It may be closed, for a few days until the new owners get straight with it, but it's gonna be reopened.
Right.
That's all I have.
Oh, yeah.
Only thing I have is, the board needs to think about what's going to be done with the old sheriff's office in consultation with the sheriff, because that building's just sitting there and it's not getting any better with possible mold and leaks and everything like that. I mean, there's some other things you can keep around, like the fuel tanks and stuff, but the building itself, what needs to be a plan, what to do with it, be it, see if it can be changed and used as the useful space, or tear it down.
We were supposed to go in there last month and we didn't do it.
All right, when do you want to go in and look? We'll set a date, we go right in there and look.
Well, then, if we all get together at the public
I
hearing,
know, but
public meeting.
we can do it within a time frame.
Yeah.
A couple of us come in, or one come in. We could all do it one morning or one afternoon. That way we would, you know, we don't have to have one specific time, but in a 3-hour window or something.
Just let me know, and I'll get with Sheriff or Curtis, and we can set that up for you all individually, or however you all want to do that.
That's all I got.
All right. Any idea on any additional space for any new employee we have coming in?
No, as I had stated earlier, the only place that we would have would be on the elevator side of the old courthouse for the assistant chief and the IT technician that we have. So we're trying to make that space work.
All right. All right, I don't have anything else. Next item would be, we need to convene into closed meeting.
We did that during the first
You
part,
don't
so
need
we
any
don't
more.
need it.
All right,
No,
so
sir.
we'll take that off the list. Next would be public comments.
Before we go into that, can we, let's back up on something. We had a discussion a few months ago about a 5-year plan on a building. And no matter what we plan or what the county needs, the public's gonna have to vote on it and approve it. But we gotta give them something to look at. And if we just sit up here and talk about it and not get it done, then nothing's gonna happen.
We need to come up with some, you're right, we need to come up with some plan, some solution of where it could possibly go. how much space we think we may need, and we're gonna need a lot of space, because we have a old courthouse that's in need of a lot of repairs. And we can't add on.
No.
There's no additional space there. So we're not gonna get any more additional offices into it. The old jail over there, I don't think that's gonna serve our needs. I think we're gonna end up tearing that down.
We got to make a step forward then.
Tadlock, you have any ideas?
Well, the planning commission reviewed all of the properties. They didn't specifically, I mean, they looked at the properties that the buildings were on, but I think that's something that we can compile some of the information that we had from the firm that did a space analysis for us. We did do that several years ago. So we could start there, but I think it's going to need to go beyond that and take a look at the condition of the sheriff's office building, take a look at the condition of the old courts building. The space is getting tight, and trying to expand offices, add additional staffing for different needs. So we can take a look at all of that and try to compile something for the board.
Can you have something, a start of something next month for us to kind of get some ideas, or can you do it in 2 months? We got to have a timeline on it because
Yeah,
we keep kicking it down the road.
We'll start trying to pull some information together for the board and get that to you all.
Whatever we decide won't be done in 30 days or a year. It'll take much longer than that to do something, so. We just need to get something moving. All right. Anyone else have anything else before we open the public hearing?
Public comment.
Public comment. Thank you, Tony. Nothing else? All right. I'd like to open the public comment period. The only person I have signed, well, I'm sorry, I have two people. First one is Mandel Jackson. Come on up here, sir.
Good evening, board members. How y'all doing? I come here on behalf of a gentleman that can't make it today because he's out cutting grass. So my question I pose to y'all is, what is the criteria or the requirements of dumping down at the Horsehead dump for yard waste or limbs? Now, this individual turned away because he had a ton dump truck, single axle ton dump truck. It was not commercial, it was personal use. And the individual told him no dump truck or dump trailer. So my understanding that you cannot take if you own a dump truck, a small dump truck for personal use, not business, that you cannot dump down there. That's correct?
That is correct. Yes, sir. If it's a dump truck, they don't allow those in there for commercial use.
All right. How about dump trailers?
I will double check on that.
He said
A lot
dump.
of people have a dump trailer that
Yeah.
they have, and you take that in there, if that's the case, you're gonna be considered commercial. That's not right.
I will double check on that, what they're telling
Okay.
individuals.
But he said, the man said no dump truck or dump trailer. Now, to my understanding, this is a hypothetical situation. If a limb blow down in my yard, if I had no way to dispose of it, take it down a gully, something like that, then I got to put it on back of my pickup truck and make 7 or 8 trips. Well, if I had a small dump truck, I could make 1 trip. So you say that's not allowed, right? That's correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Let Mr. Tadlock check on that, and he will get back to you on that.
Within a month, I
Just
guess.
to clarify everything.
So should I contact you or wait till the next board meeting?
No, you can give me a call at the office. I can give you that number. It's 804-580-7666.
7666?
Yes, sir.
So we'll give you a couple of weeks, I guess?
Yes.
Yeah, I know how
That'd
this,
be
I
fine.
know how this rolls. I'll give you a couple of weeks.
Yes, sir.
I'll be honest with you, I'll give you 3 weeks. All right, thank you very much.
Well, the only question I have is it the size of the vehicle or its style of dumping, or is it commercial use versus private use? Because I could see somebody using a truck, like if you got to haul a lot of trees, and the convenience of having a dump mechanism, either a trailer or a truck, but as long as it's personal use, to me, the criteria is personal use.
Yeah, typically, what it ties back to is commercial versus private use. But typically what you see is anyone with a dump truck, they associate that more with commercial operations.
Well, maybe a mechanism where that person who has a dump truck contacts your office to get verification that they're, and then if they then use it wrongly, then you could go after them for whatever.
Yeah.
But I could see, I remember with the Isabel, a lot of trees went down, and they had a truck, a pickup truck, a dump truck, and you would have a lot of trees.
Yeah.
And I don't want to penalize somebody using personal use, albeit a different sized vehicle.
No,
Let's get straight. So, understanding that you can dump there as long as you have a pickup truck or a car got brush in it, but you cannot take a small personal dump truck and dump there because that's considered commercial. Is that correct? But you're not using it for commercial. You use it for your personal use. You're not, to my knowledge, he used it for the personal use. But your mindset is thinking that he used it for business, right? He has no name on the side of the truck. It's just a truck he purchased, an old dump truck.
Yes, sir. Get with me. Hey, give me a call, and I can talk to you further about it and see what we can get straight for you.
All right. Like I said, I give you but 2 weeks. That's
That's fine.
all right. Thank
Yes,
you very
sir.
much. Thank you.
I go in there with my dump trailer, they won't let me dump. Makes no sense to me.
I'll check on the dump trailer part of it.
Yeah, a dump trailer doesn't have to be that big. You can be only a 12-foot bed, maybe.
Yeah. Right. All right, next person on the list is Patsy Self. You don't want to say anything tonight, Patsy?
Well, I would like to say one thing. I had COVID back in August 2 years ago. That's my drum bursted. You all really need an audio system in this room.
We have one. We do need to keep it close to us, and members do need to speak up.
Well, can I come up and sit on your knee?
Yep, I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me? You can't? Well, come on up closer.
I can hear Tommy.
And I got it sitting right next to me.
I was further away. You just don't know how to project your voice very well.
Must be.
Oh, good.
Can everybody else hear? All right.
You're yelling now.
Well, maybe that's what you have to do is yell.
I didn't have to yell.
Yeah. All right, so you're not going to speak, Patsy. Okay.
Tonight. She'll speak
Tonight.
tonight.
All right. We're glad to have you here tonight, Patsy.
Thank you.
All right. I have no one else on the sign-up sheet. Would anyone else like to speak tonight? Anyone else like to make a public comment? No comments?
And saving it for tonight.
Saving it for later, I guess. All right. We have anybody in the virtual world that would like to speak tonight?
Yes, sir.
All right, ma'am. State your name and address, please.
My name is Susie Cambria, and I live on Folly Road in Heathsville. I just wanted to make a quick comment about the fee schedule. I had a conversation with Drew Basie about the draft, and I am fully in support of revisiting the fee schedule. I know it's been at least several years in most cases. I think what would be helpful from my perspective is to know some of the information that the county administrator knows, but also put the fee schedule in a broader perspective. So for example, there's an item, there's a fee related to, it's not a waiver, but let's just call it a waiver for the Chesapeake Bay Act, right? So it might be the setback for a house or something like that. So my question to the county administrator and others would be, what is the public policy goal of the Chesapeake Bay Preservation Act And does the fee, the current fee, and does the proposed fee fall in line with that and support it? Right, so one might argue, for example, that you need to dramatically increase the fee seeking an exception to the Chesapeake Bay Preservation Act because the region is not meeting its Chesapeake Bay water quality and other environmental goals. I mean, that's probably a bad example, but it's just one example I can think of. And so I think allowing a group of people to think about the fees, understanding them in this broader context or many broader contexts before a hearing would make much more sense. And it would only delay a public hearing for a month, but I think you could rest assured that the fees not that they don't make sense now, but as a public policy one, I want to be assured as a voter and as a resident of the county that they actually make some sort of sense and aren't revenue generators for the sake of revenue generating and that sort of thing. So that's it.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, would anyone else in the virtual world like to speak? Morgan, you have anybody else? Anyone else in the virtual world like to speak? All right. Sure no one else wants to speak here tonight?
In public comment.
In public comment, yeah. All right. If not, I will close the public comment period. The next item is public hearings, and it'll start till 7 o'clock.
Go in recess until.
So we might as well go into recess until 7 p.m.
Well, we'll recess on then.
Yeah, let's Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to call this meeting back to order. We'll have our 7 o'clock public hearings. Our first item on the agenda tonight is a table request from August the 10th, request by John and Pamela Woodrum. We've had the public hearing onto it, and is Mr. or Mrs. Woodrum here tonight? Did you, were you okay with the conditions?
One.
Don't know what they are? Philip?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. They were emailed to him, and a response from Ms. Woodrum was sent to you.
Yeah,
but I'll be
okay,
happy
I just want you to say that. All right. Are you okay with those conditions?
My wife couldn't be here tonight. I think it was sent to her.
Philip, would you read those conditions, please?
Yes, sir. That all required permits and/or licenses shall be obtained from all appropriate regulatory agencies, including compliance with all applicable state, federal, and local laws, regulations, ordinances, or rules concerning taxes, including transient occupancy tax. A smoke detector and a carbon monoxide detector shall be located in each bedroom and in any other location required by the building code. There shall be at least one off-street parking space for each bedroom and no on-street parking. The vacation home rental shall have an access driveway to a state highway with a sufficient 12-foot width 12-foot height and condition to accommodate emergency services vehicles and equipment. The vacation home rental shall register and maintain registration with the county's registry if such ordinance is enacted by the Board of Supervisors. The vacation home rental shall register a local manager who possesses the authority and ability to promptly address and correct any violations of the conditions, use requirements, and/or limitations applicable to the vacation home rental with the Building and Zoning Office and the Sheriff's Office. This registry shall include the name, address, and telephone number of the local manager, and this shall also be posted in a conspicuous area of the vacation home rental. The vacation home rental's boundary line shall be clearly marked and identified for the occupants of the rental home. An inspection of the vacation home rental shall be conducted annually by the building official or designee and shall be paid by the owner pursuant to the county's adopted fee schedule. Recreational vehicles may be parked on the property but may not be used by guests for living quarters during their stay at the vacation home rental. Renters' pets shall be kept under control at all times. Overnight occupancy shall be limited to 2 persons per bedroom plus 2 additional persons per residence. This conditional use permit is non-transferable and does not attach to the property if ownership changes. There shall be no golf cart use by the renters on the roads. The applicant shall maintain liability insurance, and the renters shall not use the Civic Association's amenities.
All right, Mr. Woodrum.
We have a problem with number 15. If our guests can't use the beach, we might as well not have a ride.
And these are the ordinances that were approved for all the others.
All the others?
Yes, all the others that got approved.
What's the difference between a guest using it and me using it?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
What's the difference between a guest using the amenities and my family using it?
Oh, this is what was agreed upon.
Agreed upon by who?
Between this was brought up, this was done by Philip, and this is what the county came up to try to satisfy everybody.
I don't agree with that.
All right, we will note that. All right, board have any comments?
I have a comment. This is a different subdivision than the other ones too. This is Fleeting Beach. And I've reviewed my notes last night and now in looking at the notes and the comments of people who spoke regarding Mr. Woodrum's, that I see nobody here objecting to the beach usage, like on Chesapeake Beach.
All right.
I don't see that. And obviously there was a problem with the next door neighbor. We understand that, and the fence has been put up. But I just don't see, I mean, there are people who are opposed to short-term rentals in general. We understand that, but I don't see, any comments of anybody mentioning about the trespassing or being on the beach as in the other one. So I'll make a motion that we approve the request with the removal of number 15.
All right. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
We need the additional.
Yeah, I know, I'll have it.
Okay.
And along with that motion to move, I said, when approving or denying, scratch that first part. This motion is made in due consideration of the public health and safety, the general welfare of the community, public necessity, convenience, and in the exercise of good zoning practices and pursuit of the public body's statutory authority.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I got a motion and a second. Do I have any other discussion?
Now, if we change this and someone with the same problem come before us, we're gonna have to do the same thing for them.
But again, That was Chesapeake subdivision, and this is Fleeting Beach. We have, the comments that I wrote down, there was no opposition to it, like no opposition to the use of amenities. And we're not, by this, we're putting in a condition that addresses a concern that was not raised by the public.
Well, what I'm saying, if someone else come before us in the same location and they have opposition,
Well, I
You're
understand
talking about
that.
the same beach area?
that same beach area.
Yeah. I understand that, but right now, I don't have any comments in what I wrote down opposing Woodrum's or anybody else as to the use of it. You had people opposing to short-term rentals. We understand that. But there was no opposition to the Woodrums using, or their guests interfering allegedly with the trespassing issue on the beach area.
It's never come up.
Well, I'm gonna be the first one to say, if something similar come, I'm gonna make sure that that person is treated.
Oh, I agree.
Okay.
We have
Simple
to,
as
our best defense is to be consistent.
Right.
Maybe consistently wrong, but we can be consistent. Hey, arbitrary and capricious is you doing different things without a justification. I can distinguish between this request because it's one of separate subdivision, and we did not have the objections to the request as to the use of B, opposed to short-term rentals in general. Understand that.
Well, I'm just saying, as long as we're consistent.
Well, I understand that.
All right, so tell me your motion is to strike
15.
15. All right.
And I also want to commend the applicant for putting the fence up there for one, keeping any of his guests possibly going on that person's property, but also for the obvious screening.
I agree to
Yeah,
do that.
right.
Yep, that made a lot of difference in your property down there. All right, any other comments? Board have any other comments? If not, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those against? Your motion passes, sir. Thank you. All right, our next item is another tabled item from August the 10th. Revision of Northumberland County zoning ordinance on the solar energy. We've had our public hearing on this, so the matter is before the board. What's the pleasure of the board, or does the board have any comments?
Well, this is a step above what we had in place.
Yep, it is.
And we can still, make changes
Mhm.
to it. So I'll make a motion that we adopt this.
All right.
Language.
Language.
I'll second the motion that
I tell you what, you got it closer than I do. You go
All
ahead.
right. Well, I amend your motion to include this. The motion is made in due consideration of the public health and safety, the general welfare of the community, public necessity, convenience, and in the exercise of good zoning practices and in pursuit of the body's statutory authority. And I agree, this is a work in progress, as we had our presentation from the person on the,
Susan Stewart.
yeah.
Stewart.
They are from South Suffolk.
Yeah.
They were in the third revision of it. They made new refinements, and so and this is a process, and we all learning. I mean, everybody's learned stuff as we go along. Oh. All right?
All right. I got a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I got a motion, second. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Mr. Chairman, before we get to the next one, I would refer this matter of the solar energy process to be referred back to the Planning Commission to take in light of the information that we received just last week.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
That's right.
All right. Got a motion, I'll second that. All right, any other discussion? If not, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Mr. Fisher, you can go back to work again.
You got some good insights from last week, too.
Yep. All right, our next request would be a request by Edward Wayne and Monica W. Moore for conditional use permit for tent camping. Philip, would you start that, please, sir?
Yes, sir. We have a request by Edward Wayne and Monica W. Moore, owners, for a conditional use permit to allow commercial tent camping on property zone R2 residential waterfront. The property is shown as tax map parcel 4B-4-9 and is located at 72 Machete Lane.
All right, is anyone here tonight? Edward Wayne or Monica Moore here tonight? Would you like to make a comment?
Yep. Actually, I've got some packets.
Yes. Hand them right there to Mr. Tadlock.
Don't trip.
All right, Mr. Moore. I'm sorry, Mr. Wayne, I'm sorry.
That's good. Either one. So me and my wife started this about a year ago. It wasn't just something that we came up with ourselves. This is a national company that does it. So it's not a fly-by-night, lame brain idea we came up with. We went through all the proper channels with the county, with the health department, extensively with the health department. So basically everything is done except for this last step. And that's basically how I was going to leave it tonight. And then all of a sudden on social media this week, a bunch of stuff popped up that's basically full of stuff that's not true. So, because of that, we decided that I would go ahead and show you what we've been dealing with since we bought the place. We've done a lot of improvements to it. I don't know if you guys have gone down and looked at it or whatever, but from what it was when we bought it to what it is now is really nice compared to what it was, put it that way. But right from the very beginning, one of the things in here that I really don't understand, it says Mr. Moore has changed his address. And you guys have a copy of this. I don't even know how to change my address. My address has always been 72 Moscati Lane. That's why I say, I don't know what this document is, but they got people to sign it, and I don't know what it's all about. But I'll answer any questions that I can about it that you guys have, and any other questions you have about the tenor site or anything else. But the packet I handed you, since the beginning of this thing, the campers have been harassed. Things have been going on at our tent that we couldn't explain, stuff damaged, missing, whatever, but this will help explain some of it. So the first page there, we had some campers leave earlier because they said someone was harassing them, coming over, taking pictures, the grandparents and grandkids, and said it was creepy. They asked them to stop and they wouldn't stop. So we asked them to find out who it was, and the guy said, I think he lives across the road from you, and he drives a white vehicle. So then he touches back, and that's what this is. It says, hi, Monica, this is Ben again. My wife had a better view of it. It was a white Dodge pickup with Virginia plates. Jimmy Moore lives right across from me, and he does drive a white Dodge pickup with Virginia plates. Next one, you look at the dates on that, June 19th, June 26th is a week later. It says, hi, Wayne and Monica, you're great and your place is a great place to camp, but we had a bad experience with neighbors. We'll be heading back. That's the kind of stuff that we've been dealing with and the campers have been dealing with. Next page is a picture of Jimmy Moore walking over to our tent site. And the next page is blown up so you can see him close in identifying. The problem is little Jimmy Moore didn't have a reservation at the tent, so I don't know what he was doing over there. But during all the planning commission meetings, their concern was that people were going to be trespassing on them. That's all I heard, and this is what we get. The next picture is a construction crew with sawhorses, plywood, doing all the construction work in my front yard. The problem with that is they weren't working on my house. They were working on Mrs. Julie Deaver's house. But it's okay to do that in our yard. We don't want people trespassing on our land, but it's okay for us to have people doing things in your yard. The next picture is just past 4th of July. Ms. Deaver had a bunch of her friends and family down and didn't have enough parking spots, so guess where the overflow parking went to? Wayne and Monica's front yard. This is what we do. This is what they do. The next picture is old Bob Pugh on his golf cart riding through the backyard between the house and the tent. Why? I don't know. You tell me. If you're worried about people that come down and camp, that actually just want to come out and enjoy nature, then why are we doing exactly what we are protesting about this campsite?
Yes, sir. All right, board members have any comments or questions for?
Any questions? You got questions?
Questions for Mr. Wayne before I open the public hearing?
Do you have a website
Come back up, sir,
where
please.
this is advertised?
What's that?
Do you have a website where this is advertised?
It's advertised through tender. They do everything. That's why I say it's a national company. They take care of anything that's damaged, insurance, all that kind of stuff. They take care of it all. Then they notify us when someone's coming. We go down before they get there, get everything ready, and then pick up the garbage and everything when they're gone. That's how we know that things were going on at the tent. When people, it wasn't the campers doing it, it was someone else there. That's why I had to put up cameras. Because things kept going on that didn't make any sense. When you've got nylon straps on the tent that hold a stainless steel clasp and they look like they've been cut, why would a camper do that? So I had to put up cameras just to see what was going on.
All right. Any other board members have any questions, comments?
Well, I'll probably be on his camera today, so I went down and looked at the tent site.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen some emails going back and forth coming into the county about the health department and the sanitary.
Yeah, I sent you guys the approval for the, they went through a bunch of stuff with that because the system that they have in there for waste, some of the citizens in the county did not think that worked. How it works in all the other states in the United States, and there's 30-some other sites in Virginia, but we finally worked with Northumberland County to get that squared away. So the letter that I sent you guys is a letter of the approval that they sent us.
Jim, you have anything else?
No.
Or are you just thinking for a minute?
No, I'm good for now.
Tommy, you got any questions?
Yeah, in other words, what you're talking about using for this tent camping is a privet. Is that right?
It's very similar.
Non-standard privet. In the house that you own at the end of it, does that have a working septic system?
Yes, it does.
That's all I have.
Jim, you got anything? No. All right. Mr. Wayne, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the end of it.
Well, it's Mr. Moore, but you can call me Mr. Wade, Mr. Moore. I don't care what you call me.
I'm looking at the end of the name because I got that part kind of circled right there. But it's not, I'm sorry. Mr. Wayne, that will be all we have for you right now. We'll open the public hearing and we'll come back to you. All right. First one I have on the public hearing sign-up sheet tonight is Jim Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Jim Johnson. I live at 403 Judas Sound Road. I'm opposed to the granting of the CUP for various reasons. Number one, I believe his applications was incomplete. I believe it was misleading. Nowhere in the application does it talk about commercial tent camping. It just says tent camping, which y'all have regulations for. The only place in the whole application where commercial tent camping is mentioned is in the letter from the Public Health Department to the Moores. So they do not address safety issues. They do not address environmental issues. They address nothing on a business that I think the board should look at before a commercial enterprise is allowed to be in an R2 residential. Number two, he indicated the Department of Public Health has approved their system. I disagree with that. I'm not an expert in this, but to me, the letter from the Public Health Department says they are not having jurisdiction over that tent because it is not by Northumberland County defined as a permanent structure. And Phil, please correct me if I'm wrong. But so Public Health has not approved it. Public Health has taken a complete absence of responsibility for the proper disposal of sanitation waste at that site. What they came back with is something that says, it's not our problem, it's a county problem, and that's because the county doesn't consider this a permanent structure, so therefore they're not responsible for it. So again, I think that is a misleading comment. Again, I have my concerns that I've expressed many times on sanitation facilities. I think you will hear from my neighbors. You should have received a petition signed by over 50 individuals opposed to a commercial business in the enterprise area. And again, I think if the board decides to go forward and approve this application, I do encourage you to give us ample time to look at the conditions. The county has listened to our conditions and we go. Charlie Lumsford, who is my neighbor, has written 2 letters to the county in opposition to this. He is out of the country today. One of those addresses the whole issue about a permanent structure and what the Department of Public Health has done. This structure has been up for over 16 months and how that cannot be defined as a permanent structure. My last comment is, if a person had a home, a residential home, and did not have a toilet facility, they would not be able to have a certificate of occupancy. What we have here is a tent, no running water, available for occupancy 365 days a year. It has been up for 16 months, and they aren't responsible for their waste. It is just a total travesty of justice, if you would, about holding homeowners accountable for more sanitation facility requirements than a tent located closer to the ground in that area. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Next person on the sign-up sheet is Julie Deaver.
Good evening, I'm Julie Deaver. I live at 28 Machete Lane. I have packets of information.
Would you speak a little more into the microphone,
Yes,
please?
sir. I did not
Thank
see
you,
it
ma'am.
there. I live at 28 Machete Lane. I have packets of information, which I also emailed to y'all earlier last week. I have basically about 100 signatures of people that are against this conditional use permit for commercial camping in a residential neighborhood.
Thank you.
There's a lot of comments from people on the online petition that I set up. And also the county, the residents get this, that if this conditional use permit is approved, that basically gives precedence for any other person that owns a vacant lot in any residential neighborhood to set up a commercial tent site. So, and there's a lot of residents in the county that get this, that what this agreement would mean if you agree to this conditional use permit. Also, as Mr. Johnson was saying, this is a permanent structure, and it has been standing for 16 months. And also, I wanted to make note that a lot of people think, oh, these bring in revenue to the county. Campers are different. They're here for the nature. They are bringing in everything that they need to camp. They don't leave the campsite until they are packed up, leaving the area. They also do not stay in the tent the whole time. They're out milling around in the open, in the nature, in the area. So I'd also like to make a few comments about some of the things that Mr. Moore was saying. My workers on my house, my deed states that I have a 30-foot easement from my property to Mr. Moore's property that represents Machete Lane that I have the right to utilize. And so I had construction guys doing repair on my house, and they were right there at the edge of that easement. They were on Machete Lane. And the few minutes that my family members were parked over there and we were still within that 30-foot easement area was to allow a tractor to put sand to refill the beach there. That is the community beach. So again, it was probably about 20 minutes that we had some cars parked over there, but again, I have right to that easement on that 30-foot area that is Machete Lane. Mr. Moore continues to utilize it as his parking space versus defining a driveway in his own property. The other piece I'd like to share is that, give you a little bit of insight of what it's like living next to this commercial tent site. And I do know the only time I'm aware Mr. Moore went on to near that tent was to help me get measurements that that tent sits exactly 129 feet from the corner of my house. Like today, a gorgeous day of weather, when somebody is camping, they are burning fires in the morning for breakfast, in the evening for dinner, potentially in the afternoon as well. So on a gorgeous day like today, you can't open your windows, you can't enjoy the weather without getting smoke into your own home. This year, over the last 16 months, I have dealt with July 4th, the renters set off fireworks, the large kind like you would see at a baseball stadium, within 40 feet of my house, and they exploded over my house. I thought I had somebody throwing bombs through my windows, and my windows are being blown out, and I'm lucky I don't have a heart issue or that my house didn't catch on fire. I'm also dealing with kids.
Time's almost up, Ms. Stevens.
Okay. Kids climbing on the riprap, parents watching their kids run and jump off the docks of other neighbors. Now all of our docks have no trespassing signs up because of these renters coming in and getting into areas they're not supposed to. The Moores do not live in their home. From my understanding, they do not intend to live there, so that house will become a short-term rental location as well. So then we're talking two properties being rented, and that Machete Lane road, I was told to sign documents that I'm responsible for maintaining that road, and I should not need to maintain a road that is being used by a commercial business.
Time.
Commercial business doesn't belong in a neighborhood. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next person is Glenn Goodpasture.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Glenn Goodpasture. My wife Brenda and I own the home at 337 Judith Sound Road. We've owned that since 1988. We are opposed to this request to impose a commercial use into our strictly residential neighborhood. It is single family, owner occupied. It's been that way for upwards of 75 years. I'm not aware that there's ever been any commercial use anywhere in the neighborhood. Now, the request is to change the existing zoning law to grant a conditional use permit to allow something which is not otherwise allowed under the law. If that's going to be considered, there needs to be a very, very good reason for it. There needs to be something that's going to happen as a result of that commercial use that is going to be of benefit to the community, that's going to serve the established people who are there and who've been there in the community, something that the community wants. And as you can see from the signatures, this is not something that the community wants. It's not something that is going to improve the community. It's not going to improve your tax base. There's no service there that anyone in the whole neighborhood or in the zoning district is going to take advantage of or utilize or say, you know, I'm glad that that's there. Now, I don't know Mr. Moore, but apparently he has trouble with his neighbors. Nobody else on that street has any trouble with their neighbors. It would be a mistake to depart from the existing law for this particular use. It's wrong for that area. And I don't need to tell you all what happens when you make a decision. You have set a precedent. And as an old retired lawyer, I can tell you precedents can come back to haunt you. So I would urge you to think very carefully about, is there any good thing that's going to be added to this community by changing the regulations and allowing this commercial use for the first time ever at that location. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next person on the sign-up sheet is Betty Shelton. Good evening.
My name is Betsy Skelton. I also live 4 Machete Lane, so Julie Deaver and I are across the street from Mr. Moore. I oppose the CUP because we have a little private road, gravel road, and we all have to maintain it. And if commercial people keep going every weekend to the tent, then it's getting up to gravel. Plus the fact, when they go through, you know, if they could put their lights on, we can see them, you know, going straight through our window. Now, the other thing is, we're not there every weekend. We're trying to get down every other weekend. But when we weren't there, we've already seen our hose gone, and the treble door open. And I don't know, I can't say, but they don't have any water over there for the tent, and they don't have any septic, but they don't have water. So if there was a fire over there with all the wind we've had, they don't have any way to put it out unless they come over to one of our houses and get our water from our hose. The fireworks were a big problem because, like Julie said, we were there on the 4th of July, they came right over the house. It sounded like the house was going to explode. It was so close. We're only about, I don't know, 200, I didn't measure it, but about 250 feet away from there. The 10 R&R commercial, when we read it, they said the 10 R&R, they were supposed to put the tent in 5 to 10 acres away from traffic, away from roads, and away from neighbors. But 100 feet isn't away from a neighbor, and it's right on the road. So it's, and it's not 5 to 10 acres. It's not in the woods, it's not isolated. So that's, the 10 R&R was supposed to be, that's what they have, a 10 R&R. And the neighbors, they signed the petition because they all think that their houses are valuable and that the tent is going to decrease the property value of, you know, these expensive houses along the water. So if that gets approved, then other people can put tents on the back lot, and I don't know if the property values would go down, but it seems like they wouldn't. So that's all I have to say, and I appreciate you hearing it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, ma'am. All right, I don't have anyone else on the sign-up sheet. Would anyone else like to speak?
Yes.
Come on up, state your name and address, sir.
My name is Eddie McFarland. I live on Judah Sound Road at 321. I'm not disputing some of the comments he made, but one of the comments he made bad about Jimmy. is he assumed Jimmy was taking those pictures and he had a white truck. Believe it or not, I was taking pictures of that area and I have an identical truck. So some of the comments he might have made might be a slander. I didn't say that, but food for thought. That's all I wanted to say.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, anyone else like to speak? Would anyone else like to speak tonight on this issue? Come on up, ma'am.
My name is Barbara Johnson, 403 Judith Sound Road. Mr. Moore alluded that the house has a private septic system, but I don't believe that is part of the tent R&R access. So septic there is not benefiting, and even if it went into a rental situation, short-term, you're not going to have one person lending a bathroom to another site of the tent. So some misleading information possibly. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. All right, anyone else like to speak? Would anyone else like to speak on this issue? All right, do we have anybody in the virtual world tonight that would like to speak on this issue? Anyone in the virtual world that would like to speak on this issue? Anybody more? All right. Since we have no one else that wants to speak, I'm going to close the public hearing and the matter is before the board.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to speak on a different matter. I wasn't sure if this was an
Sir, we're in the middle of a public hearing right now. If that issue comes up here in a little while, you can speak on to it.
Absolutely. My apologies.
All right, thank you, sir. Philip, would you read these suggested conditions?
Yes, sir. The suggested conditions, if approved, are that all required permits and/or licenses shall be obtained from all appropriate regulatory agencies, including compliance with all applicable state, federal, and local laws, regulations, ordinances, or rules concerning taxes, including transient occupancy tax. There shall be at least 2 off-street parking spaces for this campsite and no on-street parking. There shall be no parking in the right-of-way named Machete Lane. The campsite shall have an access driveway to a state highway with a sufficient 12-foot width, 12-foot height, and condition to accommodate emergency services, vehicles, and equipment. The campsite shall have all sanitary and domestic waste picked up and disposed of within 24 hours of the renter's departure. The property boundary line shall be clearly marked and identified for the occupants of the campsite. Recreational vehicles may be parked on the property but may not be used by guests for living quarters during their stay at the campsite. Renters' pets shall be kept under control at all times. Overnight occupancy shall be limited to 4 persons and only 1 additional camping tent shall be allowed to be occupied. This conditional use permit is non-transferable and does not attach to property ownership. This conditional use permit is limited to 1 commercial tent camping site and no more than 2 tents to be occupied at this 1 campsite. The owner and renter shall locate any sanitation device adjacent to this campsite and in an area where it does not impact the aesthetics of the neighboring homes.
Mr. Wayne or Ms. Moore, do you have any comments?
Yes.
would you come on back up, please?
The word commercial is thrown around a lot tonight. Like this is big industry. Last year it was rented out for 33 nights, so that's less than 10% of the days in a year. This year so far it's been rented out 20 nights. As far as maintaining and upkeeping the road, I'm the only one that does anything on the road because I'm the only one that's down there during the week. If it wasn't for me going down there and cleaning out the pipe that drains into the river, the road would always be covered with water, Moschetti Lane and 624. But we've got the VDOT working on that. They're gonna replace that pipe for us to get all that squared away as well. As far as running water at the, I mean, when people get up here and say things like, you know, as far as I know, it's because they don't come to us and ask any questions. There's running water and electricity on a pole right behind the tent. There's running water and a hose over by my house. Things like this, I don't know what to tell you. If you don't come ask me any questions, how are you going to find out? And then when you come up here and stand up here and say, well, our assumption is this is what he's going to do. Our assumption is this is what he's going to do with his house. Well, the bottom line is we bought the house to move into it once we retire. But, I mean, if I've got to deal with this on a permanent basis, then I'm probably not going to go there to retire. But it also, there's no way anybody there can say that what we have done to that property has not improved how it looked when we bought it. It was grass, trees, bushes everywhere. As a matter of fact, I had a guy there that I paid a lot of money to bush hog the bushes down, and he didn't get into it an hour before he called the county and had them come down there. And this was Moore, Johnson, one of them, I don't know which one, they're all in it. He'd been down there about 45 minutes, and the county came down there to see what was going on because they told him that they had bulldozers in there, we were moving dirt, and they basically stopped everybody doing what they were doing to come watch somebody cut grass. This is what we deal with. I mean, this is honesty. I mean, ask them. Ask them questions too. This is how they've been doing it. This is how they've been doing things since we started. Instead of coming to us and asking questions, they just do this kind of stuff. We've gone through all this with the planning commission. I've gone through everybody in the health department from local all the way to the state, talked to all of them. Frankly, they're tired of this. They wanted it to just basically go away because people wouldn't leave them alone. And they were like, well, this is not something that's just, somebody just came up with a lame brain idea. This is a national company that has this disposal device set up for waste, and it's legal in every state in the United States and everywhere else in Virginia, except at the moment Northumberland County was being questioned until they finally said it was okay. So, you know, I don't know what, it is what it is, man. I mean, it's not like, again, it's not like it's something that we just came up with. This is, they do it everywhere. And as far as, if that guy would have finished that day, and I made him stop, I said, there's no way that I want you to finish clearing all these bushes, because if you do, everybody is going to drive me crazy, because the one hole that we did make out to the Judah Sound Road, everybody now just stops in there just to look in and see what's going on. And it would have been nice to have the whole field cleared up. But as it is, you got to look really hard to even know that the tent's there when you drive down that road. As far as the number 3 on there about State Highway, Moschetti Lane is the lane that I use to go to my house. I have 2 right-of-ways, Moschetti Lane and Hayslip Lane. So as long as it's okay to use them, then I'm fine with the way that's worded.
Describe how the sanitation system works.
Works like a baby's diaper.
That don't tell me anything.
There's a bag that fits in the toilet that has chemicals in it. It's approved by NASA. It takes the waste, gels it up, and it's just like a baby's diaper.
Okay.
You know, when you throw a baby's diaper away, it's all the, if you ever seen one bust open, it's all this gel and stuff. That's basically what this is. That's the reason it's, I mean, if you go to their website, it explains it in depth, but I'm not a scientist and I don't know the actual stuff that's used, but it's what NASA uses up in space, so.
Right. What's your definition of commercial?
Well, commercial.
You're getting paid, aren't you?
I would say this, you could say it's, I'm getting paid, yeah, but I wouldn't say.
Doesn't that make it commercial?
The way they are throwing the word commercial around is not, like I said, 10% of the days last year, 33 days.
If you're getting paid, doesn't that make it commercial?
If we call it commercial, we call it commercial, but I don't think, what I'm saying is, as far as commercial goes, you're not gonna tell me that 20 cars coming in there during the year on weekends are gonna damage that road. You know what I mean?
Depends when they come in and what the weather like before. Anyway, but
But,
I just
I
want
mean,
to understand your definition
You
of
see what I'm
commercial.
saying? I could see if it was 3,000 cars coming in that road, doing some damage, but 20 cars on the weekends, I don't, and again, like I said, I'm the one that does it all anyway, so.
No problem.
Anyone else have any questions, comments?
No.
So your toilet works like a baby's diaper. People use it, and then you have to come in and remove the bag, basically.
They put it in the trash can.
They put it in the trash can, all right?
Then we come empty the trash.
How long does your trash usually sit there?
When they check out, we come and get everything that day.
So, time frame?
They check out their checkout time is 11, but some of them ask if they can stay for the afternoon, and if we don't have anybody else down there, we let them stay. And then we come down and pick up the trash, take everything. If they get linen, some of them get linens. Some of them get grill to grill out on. I sold the same wheelbarrow of wood to 5 people last year that were gonna build campfires, but I guess didn't know how to build fires, but they tried.
But your water to access that the campers have comes from the house.
Yep, comes from an artesian well.
Yeah, but you don't have any separate water access for those campers.
Yes, it's water access on a pole right behind the tent.
But it's running from your house, right?
Yeah.
I understand it, but it's not, in other words, if you sold that house, there would be no way for those 10 campers to have water
If
there.
I sold that house, I would sell that piece of land too.
Okay, but I'm just saying,
Yeah.
one
They're connected,
person,
all of it's connected to the artesian well.
but you also got a bathroom and they could use that too. You can't argue water here, but not septic too. It works both ways then.
Why would I need septic if the health department says this is approved, why do I need septic for the tent?
No more? All right. Any other board members have any questions or comments? I'm sorry, sir. Public hearing's been closed.
Well, just to correct.
No, sir. No, sir. All right. What's the pleasure of the board?
This motion is going to be made in due consideration of public health and safety and general welfare of the community and public necessity, convenience in the exercise of good zoning practices pursuant of the body's statutory authority, that this cup permit be denied.
All right. We got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any other discussion? If not,
Well, I would view this because it's commercial. You're getting paid there. There's no.
I get that.
I understand. That's how everybody else defines commercial, is getting paid. You can
I
argue
get-
how much.
I
But-
get that part of it, I'm just saying as far as the way, when you use the word commercial.
Sir, you're through talking now. It's before us.
Okay.
And I view this as being incompatible with the neighborhood. This is a use that's extraordinary in the sense of it's not like a short-term rental. If you're doing a short-term rental on the house that you have, that's a different ballgame. But this is putting, albeit temporary thing on a commercial basis and with non-traditional type of septic scenario. I know the health department may approve it, but you've got neighbors that almost could be looking at all this stuff. And so I agree with the motion.
All right, any other comments? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those against? Your motion does not, this motion passes that you're not granted the application. Sorry.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that the Planning Commission review commercial tent camping as to acreage or some means other than on any lot of anywhere.
All right, I'll second that motion. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 And this is not talking to campgrounds, we're talking this scenario.
Yep.
Campgrounds, they got their
Tent
own
camping.
set of regulations, they've got a health department regulates them big times, et cetera.
All right. Our next request tonight is a request by Aqua Virginia Incorporated. Philip?
Yes, sir. We have a request by Aqua Virginia Incorporated, owner, and Jeff Capinos, applicant, for a conditional use permit to allow a replacement elevated water tank 150 feet in height on property zoned R2 residential waterfront. Property is shown as tax map parcel 38B-1-82A and is located at 743 Main Street in Reedville.
All right. Is there anyone here representing Aqua Virginia Incorporated? Yes. Come on up, sir. Come on up and give us a statement of what you're planning or what your intentions are.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jeff Capinos. I'm with RK&K, and we're the design consultant for Aqua Virginia, who's the water provider for the Reedville area. Philip, did you have that other picture? Are you able to show that if we need it? Oh, perfect. Thank you. Right on cue. So a little bit more about this request. If you've been in the area, you've seen the Reedville tank with the logo. That tank is over 70 years old. Aqua did an inspection a couple years ago, and it's at its useful life. So they would like to provide a similar elevated tank to the same height, which is approximately 150 feet. It'll be on the same site within a few feet of that one. They will need to remove that one to install the new tank. And Aqua has said they are fine with putting the same logo, same size on the two sides of the tank, working with the Ocean Harvesters has volunteered to help with that, as well as we're happy to include any focus groups in the area on that. But the two styles we are going to bid are both, it's a slightly larger tank than the existing. The existing was about 75,000 gallons. This one will be 100,000 gallons. Again, the same height, a little bit bigger, to allow for a little bit more for peak capacities. And those are the two styles in the pictures. One is called the double ellipsoid, which is very similar to the one that was built 70 years ago. The second style is called a pedosphere tank, and it has a single column. Both of those, again, will be the same height, have about the same amount of space at the top, and the logo will be on whichever one is selected once the project's bid and pricing comes in.
All right. Any board members have any questions before we open the public hearing?
If the tank was not replaced and it's past its useful life, what does that mean for the world, especially that part?
What does it mean to the water system?
Yeah.
Well, they wouldn't have enough volume and pressure to meet the requirements. So it would be it wouldn't meet Virginia Health Department requirements for that storage requirement.
That's all the questions I have, Mr. Chairman.
Any other board members have any questions?
I believe I've seen something in there where company done an inspection of the tank?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can that documentation be provided to the county?
Sure, yes. Yes, we have that document. Aqua has that.
And I know the Reedville areas, we look at it more like of a historical district. Is there any way that that tank could be duplicated to match what's out today?
It's pretty close. I don't know if we can zoom into that right picture that's unpainted. That is pretty close to the style that was built 70 years. It's called multi-leg tank or double ellipsoidal now. Yeah, thank you for zooming in on that. So that is very similar to the one that was there, but that is what the manufacturers do these days. So there's a slight change, but for the most part, it's the same tank. It's the closest to that style. So again, when they put it out to bid, certain contractors prefer to build one or the other. There'll be options to bid both. We'll see what the schedules are, the costs, and then the plan is to put in one of those two styles, you know, with the proper logo at the same height it was before.
All right, any other questions?
No.
All right, no other questions? All right, I'm going to open the public hearing. If we have any more questions, we'll call you back, sir. All right, I have no one on the sign-up sheet that has signed up to speak. Would anyone out here tonight, anyone like to speak on this issue?
Mr. Chairman, I would.
Yes, please come on up.
Gail Starrett, I live in 588 Loxley Lane. Is there a possibility, and I probably need to direct that to you, if the Greater Reedville Association can have some input into planning this to keep it, like you said, historically cognizant, I guess, so that they have something, you know, it's the Fisherman's Museum Board is the Greater Reedville Association Board. It'd be really helpful if they could have some input, at least in the design, I think. I don't think they're going to argue that they want to keep a 70-year-old tank, but I don't know if you would have to do that or if your company would be interested.
Is it more for the logo or?
It might be just for the design of the tank.
That is.
Do they get to choose? Or are you going to choose that big brown one?
Let off table this for a month and let them get together.
Yeah, we can't do that.
Yeah, we need to table this.
We can't do that.
Charlie, you're on the board.
We can't
aren't you?
require
Would
the
they
tank
want
size.
input?
No, we can't do any of
No,
that.
but
It's
they-
not up to us.
No.
Can y'all
So,
kind of keep your
I'm sorry,
comments
Charles
directed
is
to the
on
board here?
He could probably speak to this. Charles is on the Greater Reedville Association Board.
I would suggest that y'all get together yourself. The board cannot recommend that any changes
You can't
be
put
done
that
like
into your motion?
No.
Mr.
You would
Chairman,
have to do that yourself.
I think Mr. Marston has been in contact with the Greater Reedville Association. And
Philip, have you,
Thank you. I have, Mr. Chairman. I've emailed both parties involved, and the Greater Reedville Association has also been in touch with Monty Deal with Ocean Harvesters, Omega. So everyone is working together.
okay. All right.
I'll make a motion, we postpone this for 30 days and let the two groups get together and,
We haven't finished public hearing yet.
okay.
All right.
We can do that, have the hearing.
That's fine.
Then
That
postpone.
shouldn't have anything to do with that.
All right. Anyone else like to speak? Come on up, sir.
Charles Williams, 386 Seaboard Drive, Reedville. Couple questions. I didn't get your title. Are you with Aqua? Or are you representing them as an engineer or? As an engineer. Okay. Is there anyone here from Aqua that can speak on behalf of the company?
They may be on Zoom.
Okay. A question I've got is the cost of this and how is that going to be distributed to the user? I'd like to know if everybody's going to get a big bill right at the front end of this, or as we go along, what that's going to be. I'd be curious what the cost is of the project. The logo that's on there, the museum, we did fundraisers to raise enough money. I think we raised about $10,000 to have the logo put on it. They did it. It would be nice if Aqua, somebody could speak for Aqua, would foot the bill for the next logo on the new tank. And that's all I've got.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Williams. Anyone else like to speak? Anyone else like to speak? All right, would anyone else like to speak in the virtual world tonight? Anyone in the virtual world like to speak? All right. Ma'am, you raised your hand while I was asking for the virtual world. You come on up.
My name's Emily Williams, and I live at 116 Coleyville Lane in Reedville. And I just have a quick question. The current tower, is there anything wrong? I know it's 70 years old, but is there, other than the capacity, the need for, I guess because of the influx of new residents, is that the main reason why you're replacing it, or is it just because it's 70 years old?
The inspection report recommended a lot of repairs and a lot of recoating, and it was a question about it.
Okay, so there are issues that need, so that does need to be replaced. Okay, okay, thank you.
All right. All right, would anyone else like to speak? If not, I'm going to close the public hearing and the matters before the board.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we, read your conditions.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Suggested conditions, if approved, are that the water tower shall be constructed as shown on the application, and there shall be no encroachment into the 50-foot resource protection area, and erosion and sediment control shall be in place and maintained during construction.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve this request with the suggested conditions, and this motion is made in due consideration of the public health and safety and the general welfare of the community, public necessity, convenience, and in the exercise of good zoning practice and in pursuit of the body's statutory authority.
Second.
Obviously, we got a tank that's 70 years old. It's going to cost a lot to replace, and they are offered to paint the logos on there, which I fully recommend you do, and coordinate with the Reedville Fishermen's Museum. Obviously, you can see the importance that it is attached to the people in the area. And it's also good area. You got Reedville on there and you got the fishing. That ties right into the history of the county. And obviously, we all know if you get on the wrong side of VDOT or DEQ and wells, it's not good, like we know about the schools. So you don't want to get on the wrong side of them. So this is obviously one part of the motion, public health. So this is public drinking water, which everybody needs in that area, unless you got your own well.
All right, any other comments? We have a motion and a second. No other comments. All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those against? Motion passes, sir. Thank you. All right, next item on our agenda is to consider adding a cigarette tax. Luttrell will let you take care of that.
Yes, sir. The next public hearing is consideration of adding a new article, cigarette tax, to Chapter 132 of the Northumberland County Code of Ordinances to authorize the levy of taxes upon the sale or use of cigarettes in the portions of the county of Northumberland outside the corporate limits of the town within the county. In 2021, the counties were able to levy cigarette taxes. There are currently 11 counties and towns that are that make up the Chesapeake Bay Region Cigarette Tax Board. The ordinance before you tonight does have the Chesapeake Bay Region Cigarette Tax Board would oversee this program. The maximum tax rate that the county can charge is 40 cents per pack. And if the board does approve this, we would just ask that the PDC or the board, Chesapeake Tax Board, Cigarette Tax Board, have time to implement the tax with the distributors. So we would be requesting a January 1st, 2024 implementation. I believe Mr. Davis is here as well in case you have any questions.
Does the board have any questions for Mr. Davis?
So the highest we can go is 40, but we can go lower.
Mr. Davis, would you come up, please, sir? Would you give us some comments on this, please?
Okay. Well, as Leslie said, the General Assembly adopted legislation allowing counties to implement a cigarette tax effective July 1 of 2021. And when the General Assembly gave that authority to counties, because of the number of counties and the potential number of additional localities implementing a cigarette tax, and the, I don't want to say burden, but in the way that the implementation of a cigarette tax, a local cigarette tax works, is a wholesale distributor who sells the cigarettes to the retail outlets is the taxing agent for that tax. Now, the way that works, the wholesale distributor, first of all, is permitted and bonded with the Department of Taxation for the state cigarette tax. Currently, the state cigarette tax is 60 cents a pack. Now, the way that tax is paid, a wholesale distributor goes to the Department of Taxation and purchases a state taxing stamp. They pay the Department of Taxation. That's how the tax gets paid to the state. They get these stamps. They apply them to the cigarettes before they're sold out to the retail outlets. When there's a local tax, and prior to July 1 of 2021, basically just cities and towns had that authority. However, there were some counties up in Northern Virginia that had received the approval to implement cigarette taxes. And I would say all of those in Northern Virginia implemented that tax through a regional board, the Northern Virginia Regional Tax Board. The way that local tax gets implemented there is that they entered into a memorandum of understanding with the Department of Taxation so that every locality is not having to deal with this individually with getting their stamp, collecting the tax from the wholesale distributors, applying an individual locality stamp. It would be a very burdensome process. So that had already been worked out with the Northern Virginia Cigarette Tax Board, where the wholesale distributors go, when they go to the Department of Taxation to pay the state stamp, they then notify which localities have implemented a local tax, and in lieu of just getting the state stamp, they get a dual stamp that shows they will be paying not only the state tax, but also the local tax. That had already been worked out with the Northern Virginia Cigarette Tax Board. So when the General Assembly authorized counties to begin implement tax, they stopped short of mandating it, but they recommended, and there was a stakeholder group, a working group that had worked with the General Assembly before they actually adopted the legislation. But they recommended that counties, in implementing a cigarette tax, do it through a regional board. And that was the recommendation of the working group. It works, it's a more efficient way to do it. That's the wholesale distributor organization. It's the Virginia, North Carolina Wholesale Distributors Association recommended that because it's more efficient and a better way for the wholesale distributors to act and fulfill their responsibility as the taxing agents. So County's got that authority. The localities, I can say the counties within the Northern Neck and the localities, the towns in the Northern Neck, first raised the issue that if we do a local tax, and some of them were interested in doing it, is it feasible that we could form a regional board here, as they've done in Northern Virginia, to implement the tax, so we don't have to do it individually by county or town. And we did have some of the towns in the Northern Neck that were already doing a local tax and had their individual town taxing stamp. And they were dealing with wholesale distributors and selling that stamp and whatever. So the discussion started with the Northern Neck localities, but immediately spread to other localities outside the Northern Neck PDC. So currently, the way all this happened over time is currently we have 11 localities that are members of the board. Within the Northern Neck PDC, we have Westmoreland County, the town of Colonial Beach, town of Montrose, we have the town of Warsaw, Lancaster County, Middlesex County, the town of Urbana, Essex County, Accomack County, the town of Chincoteague, and Northampton County have all become members of our board. So what we do, we followed the model that Northern Virginia had already set up. So we entered into a memorandum of understanding with the Department of Taxation, and we have a dual stamp. Chesapeake Bay, we have a unique Chesapeake Bay taxing stamp. So the wholesale distributors, and we have 16 wholesale distributors that sell cigarettes to the retail outlets in our footprint. Those 16 wholesalers, as they do with the Department of Taxation, have to be permitted by our board and post a bond with our board. The bond is determined by how much tax they're going to be handling. So they're permitted and bonded with the board, and they go, and also in the localities we have about 134, 135 retail outlets that those 16 wholesale distributors sell cigarettes to. So the wholesale distributor goes to the Department of Taxation, just like they do in Northern Virginia. The Department of Taxation knows which localities within our board, which ones have a cigarette tax. And they know to sell the dual stamp to those wholesale distributors that they will apply to the cigarettes that are being sold to the retail stores in our footprint. They still pay the state tax directly to the Department of Taxation, but the local tax, once a wholesale distributor is permitted with us, then we supply them with a monthly report form by locality, by retail outlet. They report to us the number of cigarettes within each locality that they're selling to the retail, and they pay that local tax directly to the regional board that we in turn collect and distribute out to each locality based on the sale volume. It's a very efficient way of doing it. Again, we followed the model that Northern Virginia had already worked out. And at the time we were coming together and getting organized, 2 other regional boards in Virginia also came together, one up in Central Virginia, it's the Blue Ridge Cigarette Tax Board. It serves Charlottesville and some of the localities surrounding Charlottesville. And the other one is out in Southwest Virginia, it's the Mount Rogers Cigarette Tax Board. So currently there are 4 regional boards that are formed and operate. They all do it the same way. It's all under a memorandum of understanding with the Department of Taxation, and they all have their own unique dual stamp to implement the tax. Now, there are some counties that decided to implement the tax on their own. And the way that works is they would have to work directly with the wholesale distributors that sell cigarettes in their county. They have to have their own stamp. They have to sell those stamps to the wholesale distributors. The wholesale distributors have to apply that additional stamp to the cigarettes before they go out to the retail outlets. It's a very cumbersome, more complicated process. But those counties have the right to choose which way they want to implement the tax. So we're currently talking to some other localities that have expressed an interest to joining the board. The town of Bowling Green is wanting to implement a town tax effective January 1. Richmond County is having their public hearing tonight to consider implementing a tax there. And of course, you all are under consideration. And I've heard there's some other localities that will be approaching the board about possibly joining in the future. So, be glad to answer any other questions.
Are the counties, are they taxing about the same amount?
Well, when the General Assembly adopted the legislation, they set a limit on the tax. So you can implement a tax up to 40 cents a pack. But you don't have to go to 40 cents. You can establish any rate between 0 and 40 cents. Of the 11 localities that are part of our board, 10 of them have the 40-cent tax rate. Accomack, initially when they joined, set a tax rate of 10 cents a pack, and they just raised that effective July 1 of this year to 20 cents a pack. Now, Accomack is sort of unique. Accomack County gets a lot of out-of-county sales from people that travel down from Maryland, Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, where the state taxes up there are extremely high. And people travel down to Accomack because they're the closest county to them and buy cigarettes in large quantities. Even though Accomack only had, for the first year, even at the 10-cent rate, they were the largest, they were generating the largest amount of tax dollars than any of our localities. Accomack was, the first 12 months at the 10-cent rate, generated, I think, $800 and some thousand the first year. That's going to double effective July 1. So they're going to be up around $2 million because of the volume of cigarettes to get sold out of county, from out of county residents. Now, that's unique. I know King George has sort of a similar situation because they get a lot of people that travel down 301 to buy cigarettes from points north. So they sort of have that same unique, because of geography, same situation. King George does their own, they implement their own tax. So they have their own stamp. They deal directly with the wholesale distributors by county. So not too many counties have gone and done it individually because it gets very involved. But, and it's totally up to the county how they want to do it. You can do it individually or you can do it through a regional tax board if you have that option. The 4 regional boards don't cover the entire state. So I've had some counties that I've got right now one county that's on the Virginia-North Carolina border that has asked, is it feasible that we could join the Chesapeake Bay Board? That's something we'll have to talk about. But anyway.
What, the northern neck counties, what are they charging on an average?
How much tax is generated?
Yeah.
I mean, it varies because it depends on how many retail outlets are within that county. I think you all probably looked at a chart that showed how much tax the localities had generated since they started. But let me just say this, Northumberland County has either 14 or 15 retail stores that sell cigarettes. Now, I would say, looking at the other localities, the other locality that would be very similar in the number of retail stores and traffic that, like Northumberland, would be Westmoreland County. Westmoreland County has 12 retail stores. Of course, they have the two towns that do their own tax, so these are retail outlets that are outside of Colonial Beach and Montrose. So Westmoreland has 12 stores. They've, since they started implementing the tax August 1st of 2021, they've generated over $300,000 in sales tax. They're averaging, I went back and looked, they're averaging about $12,000 a month in tax. So don't hold me to it, but I'm saying that's a good comparison. And a county that's similar in the number of retail outlets that are operating. Middlesex is another, there may be some other unique things, but Middlesex has 13 retail stores, and they're generating more. So from August through up, this chart is, I think, about a month or two old, but they had already generated almost $374,000 in tax since they started. So their monthly is even higher than Westmoreland, and they're about the same number of retail. But it also depends on what kind of retail stores are in the locality, because when if you have like Food Lions and a lot of these service stations, some retail stores have a higher volume of cigarettes than others. So it's hard. Every locale is going to be a little different. But I would use a good comparison. I would look at Westmoreland as a good comparison.
Okay.
Is that all with you?
That's all I have.
Any other board members have any comments, questions? No one? Davis, thank you. I'm going to open the public hearing now.
Okay,
We'll probably
thank
get
you.
back to you. Hold on just a second. All right, public hearing's open. I have no one on the sign-up sheet. Mr. Self, you want to speak?
Not really, I just have a question for Jerry. Can you tell us how many cigarettes are actually sold in all the county various stores? These guys need to know how much money and what it's gonna cost to get that money.
I don't have any way of knowing how many cigarettes are being currently sold in Northumberland.
Quite a few.
We don't have any way of knowing. So
Quite a
you have
few.
to sort of have a look at the number of retail outlets, and some localities, when they were looking at what they could expect, just, Vaco work with the counties and get it on population and that kind of thing. But I don't have any source on how many cigarettes are currently being sold.
Well, you said 12, Jerry, but we have two businesses coming up will be selling cigarettes within the next month in Norfolk. Well, one over in Wycomico. I know that.
Not yet.
There might be 5 in a month, but
Huh?
there may be a little bit more in a month, but I don't think, he doesn't have any way to determine what their retail sales are on cigarettes, but you can only estimate from what surrounding counties are getting with the same amount of retail stores. So that's a way of looking at it. All right, I don't have anyone on the sign-up sheet. Would anyone like to speak tonight?
I just have a question.
Come on up.
Everything costs money. So what's the overhead for implementing and getting associated with this process?
Supposed to speak to the board.
Of
Comments this way.
This way.
Comments to the board, please.
I'm looking for the answer to what is the overhead involved with, in other words, there's a tax on the tax.
Yeah, operating expense.
How much is that?
Yeah. I think we'll get that answer in a few minutes. All right, anyone else like to speak?
Does anyone know when we took tax off of cigarettes?
Huh?
What year?
We took tax off?
Never did.
Never did.
I don't think we ever did.
Yeah, when I was a young girl, I worked with Gallagher in school, and they used to put the tax off on the cigarettes.
That's probably the state tax, wasn't it?
Right. Yeah.
That was probably state tax. That hasn't been a locality tax here.
Are we gonna have a state tax?
It
Already got
already
it.
is a state tax.
It already is?
Yep.
Already is. This would be a local tax.
I think marijuana will tax.
That might be next. All right, anyone else like to speak? All right, would anyone in the virtual world like to speak on this public hearing?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Please state your name and address, sir.
Yes, sir. Good evening, honorable board members. I am Kamal Kumar. I am a business owner and property owner in Northumberland County. My family, I should say, my family and I, we currently own and operate the Little Sioux food stores, and we have 3 convenience stores and gas stations that we own and operate in Northumberland County. I am here on behalf of my family, my employees, and my customers in opposition of increasing the cigarette tax. You know, you know, in the world of inflation, COVID, Ukraine, supply chain, you know, I think increasing taxes on our consumers at this time should be the last thing that's being discussed. But in addition to the hardships that all of us are facing through increased gas prices and all the economic woes that everyone is facing, you know, I would also highlight that, you know, as a small business owner, 45% of our inside sales are around tobacco sales or cigarette sales. You know, with the increase of taxes, we are encouraging our customers to perhaps seek cheaper jurisdictions, which is eventually going to drive out revenue from the county to other counties. As the gentleman before me has spoken, Accomack County, thrives on volume, as many from the state of Maryland come over there to shop for cigarettes. We don't want Northumberland County to become the next Maryland. And lastly, I would also just say, that, or in closing, I would say that I would humbly and very kindly request the board to consider opposing this proposal, as it would be in the best interest of the citizens of Northumberland. As a business owner and engaged in the community, I would love the opportunity to discuss with the board, other methods and avenues that could be beneficial for the county and its citizens. Thank you for the opportunity to let me speak.
Thank you, sir.
I'd like to ask them. Sir, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I can.
You say you're the owner of Little Sioux's, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, how about the other counties? They have tax.
Sir, Kilmarnock does have tax, and there is a local tax over there. However, our cigarette sales are not anywhere near where, what they would be in our other.
Well, why are you trying to ask Northumberland not to put tax on the cigarettes, but your other stores have tax?
So when I took ownership of the business in Kilmarnock, in Kilmarnock, for instance, at that time the tax was already in place, and I did not have the opportunity to attend a board hearing like this today, where I could voice my opinion. Today, I'm thankful for having the opportunity to voice my opinion as the decision is being, a decision is being considered. if I had the opportunity, when Kilmarnock was discussing this issue as well, I would have done the same.
But you have stores in other counties and they have cigarette tax.
Sir, Kilmarnock is one of the counties, and Warsaw is the town of Warsaw. The same thing applies over there, and my answer remains the same as it did for Kilmarnock. If I had the opportunity, I have a representative, in Richmond County pleading the same case as they were hearing the issue, but the town of Warsaw, you are correct, the town of Warsaw itself does have a tax, in addition to the state tax, and that was well before we took ownership of that, of our store over there. And at the time when that decision was being considered, if I had the opportunity, at that time I would have pled the same case to the board, or to the town of Warsaw. However, unfortunately, the rules were already in place when I took ownership of those businesses. But once again, with Northumberland County, the way that it's being, and because of the opportunity that is afforded to me, I want to go on record and highlight the fact that I strongly believe that taking the direction of adopting the additional cigarette tax may not be the best direction, in my personal opinion.
Well, my personal opinion, I disagree with it, all right? Because you're not doing it in other counties. I'm gonna get to the vote.
So respectfully, I didn't hear the last.
I say, I disagree with you, all right?
All right, any other board members have any questions?
You have a copy of the MOU that we can,
It's in your next, it's the next item on.
I know,
the
but I'd like to have it up on here.
You want the ordinance or the MOU?
The MOU.
Yeah, it was several pages, so we weren't able to.
Page one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It was page 1 of the MOU.
Are you referring to the Cigarette Tax Board MOU? Or
It's titled the Northumberland County, Virginia Memorandum. It's to Northumberland County Board of Supervisors in consideration of adding a new article of cigarette tax to the Northumberland County Code of Ordinances.
You're on the next item, aren't you? On the next hearing?
I may be, because I was looking to,
No, he's right here. Click on that one. No, right on the tax.
Let's see, right here.
Yeah, you on the tax.
This is the one right here. Click on this one. And he is down, yeah, that's the one I had. I thought he was on the other, referring back to the other one.
like it.
so anyhow, the bottom paragraph references the maximum tax rate the county can charge is 40 cents per pack, which is what all but one of the localities is charging within the CBRTB. It says with Northumberland County currently has approximately 13 store locations selling cigarettes. In comparing other localities with the same number of stores, they're seeing approximately $150,000 to $200,000 annually. So if we just use that $150,000 and know the low number, how much is that going to cost the county? How much of that $150,000 the county is going to get?
Mr. Davis?
The numbers that's after, so with the board has a 5% administration fee.
Okay.
So the way it works,
Same thing with EMS.
the wholesale distributor,
Same as with EMS.
the wholesale distributor pays the tax to the board. We retain 5%, pass the balance to the locality.
Okay. And I know this is going to be another question, so I might as well ask you while you're up there. Where does that 5% go?
Okay, it pays the cost of dealing with the wholesale distributors, the permitting, the licensings, collecting and distributing the tax to the localities. We also do the auditing and compliance for the tax. We have a person that visits the retail stores on a regular basis to ensure that the retail outlets have the properly stamped cigarettes on the shelf. So it was very important to the localities, and the reason a lot of localities do it through a regional board is for that auditing and compliance, because you can't totally rely on wholesale distributors and retail stores to get the right stamp and pay the tax. So it takes constantly, and mistakes happen, and you have to be. We had one last round. It was a mistake. A wholesale distributor made a mistake and sold cigarettes that were not stamped. But it was an honest mistake. But if we were not doing that compliance, that would have never been uncovered, and those kind of things can, build over time. So the auditing and compliance was very important to the localities, so there's no cost to the locality. The 5% is deducted from the tax generated. It covers the total administration of the program, the auditing and compliance.
It's set up similar to your EMS billing.
Yeah, same percentage too.
What's that?
Same percentage as the EMS board.
Exactly. We that was like right off the bat. The locality said, "Can we set this up and model it after the same?" See, our board is set up as the medical emergency ambulance board under the state code section that allows localities to form intergovernmental organizations to provide this kind of service. So it's the exact same model. Each locality has a member on the board. So currently we have the 11 board members, one from each locality, meet on a regular basis. All the policy decisions, oversight is from the board. So same way the emergency ambulance service board operates.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. All right. Have anyone else out of the virtual world would like to speak tonight? Anyone else in the virtual world that would like to speak tonight? No one? All right. No one else wants to speak? I'm going to close the public hearing. The matter is before the board. Does the board have any more questions for Mr. Davis?
No.
All right. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve this cigarette tax at 40 cents per pack, and the effective date, Mr. Tadlock, you want January the 1st?
January 1, 2024.
Yeah, January 1, 2024.
January 1, 2024.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Obviously, as we can see by the overview, all the adjoining localities, with the exception of Richmond County, they're there tonight, already have it.
Right.
So it's not like we're an outlier of this, but I also remember that big public hearing we had on real estate taxes. Everybody said, look at other alternatives of revenue to take the lesson off the real estate tax.
Yep.
And really, frankly, our primary driver of taxes in Northumberland County is real estate. But if we can lessen the bite, it helps.
Yep. All right, any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those against? All right, Mr. Tadlock, that motion passes.
All right.
Next one is consideration of an ordinance approving the formation of a joint entity for the Chesapeake Bay Region Cigarette Tax Board. Russell, will let you take care of that.
Yes, sir. This ties back with the past public hearing that we had. Like I said, it's consideration of ordinance approving the formation of a joint entity known as the Chesapeake Bay Region Cigarette Tax Board, with the County of Northumberland as a member thereof, and bestowing on such entity all powers necessary and proper for the performance of its duties as provided by law.
All right, any board members have any questions or comments before I open the public hearing? If not, I will open the public hearing. I have no one on the sign-up sheet. Would anyone like to speak? Anyone like to speak on this issue? All right, would anyone in the virtual world like to speak on this issue? Anyone in the virtual world like to speak? All right, since we have no one that wants to speak, I'll close the public hearing and the matters before the board.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve this ordinance adopted to today's date, but to be effective January 1, 2024, Mr. Tadlock.
Mr. Davis, does that need to be the same date to coincide with the tax? Okay.
Yes, so January the 1st, 2024.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Got any other discussion? If, excuse me, if not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those against? Motion passes. Next item, consideration of adding a new Chapter 43 business. Luttrell?
Yes, sir. Consideration of adding a new Chapter 43 businesses of Northumberland County Code of Ordinances for the creation of a registry for short-term rental properties in Northumberland County. And what this ordinance, if passed, would create an annual registry for the short-term rentals. The registry cost would be $75 to help defray cost of administering and maintaining the program. This would be managed by the zoning administrator and building and zoning office.
All right, any board members have any questions or comments? All right, if not, I'll open the public hearing. And I have two people here on the sign-up sheet. One is Jim Johnson.
Jim Johnson, 403 Judith Sound. I've previously furnished my letter in support of this. I think it's very appropriate for the county to maintain such a registry to make sure that it can enforce safety, environmental, public safety types of items. I think if you read the latest news coming out, more and more localities are going back to say they have to have some kind of creation or some type of understanding of what short-term rentals are out there. I think $75 a year is minimum. I think it would serve everyone well to be able to have this registry so the county's aware of what businesses are going on in the county. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. All right, next person on the sign-up sheet is, I think it's Jeff. Can't read the last, but I think it's 292 Crowder's Point. Sorry, I just cannot read that.
That's fine. Jeff Bramblett. I
Jeff
own
Bramble. All right.
Ross's Fine Jewelers and Chitter Chats.
Oh, okay.
I was at the public meeting for the Planning Commission, voiced my opinions there. Didn't seem to do any good voicing them. But one thing I look at is, as a business owner, I've got all kinds of regulations and pieces I have to go through, all the taxes I pay for personal property tax, inventory tax, and I can list them all off. You guys understand all the taxes we pay, all the business licenses and the pieces. Just we keep adding more and more and more to the small business on things we've got to take care of and do. I have one short-term rental. It's behind the ice cream shop. It does a good job. I keep hearing bad things about short-term rentals, but so far in the 2 years I've had it, everybody we've had have been fantastic people. I mean, just the best people, nice to visit with. They come in the community, they buy ice cream, they go to Charles's and buy food. I did the same speech to the Planning Commission. I just have seen this slow march towards more and more short-term rental, making that not in my backyard pieces, because the zoning commission already talked about doing the R1, or no, R4, whatever they put the new requirements on. And now I see things where they're starting to make people do a bunch of stuff where they said, oh, you'll all be grandfathered, it's not that big a deal. But it's just that kind of that slow march to just keep regulating and putting more taxes and more pieces on it. So I'm against doing the short-term rental piece. I don't know if that'll change anybody's opinion, but just wanted to let you know. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. No one else on the sign-up sheet. Would anyone else like to speak? Anyone else like to speak? All right, would anyone in the virtual world like to speak? Anyone in the virtual world like to speak tonight? Anybody want? All right, since we have no one else to speak, I'm going to close the public hearing. The matter's before the board now.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve this ordinance for a registry. Do I need to read this with it? And I didn't think so. I just wanted to make sure. So I move that we approve. And this is obviously, we're adding a business to the county, albeit a tax type thing, I know.
All right,
Second.
got a motion to second. Do I have any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against? All right. Next item, consideration of adding a new article, transient occupancy tax. Ludwig?
Yes, sir. Consideration of adding a new article, transient occupancy tax, to Chapter 132 of the Northumberland County Code of Ordinances to authorize a tax of 2% of the amount paid for lodging by or for any such transient to any hotel, motel, boarding house, travel campground, or other facility offering guest accommodations rented out for continuous occupancy for fewer than 30 consecutive days for the occupancy of any room or space that is suitable or intended for occupancy by transients for dwelling, lodging, or sleeping purposes. The tax shall be collected from such transient at the time and in the manner provided by this article. And the overview on this, the ordinance, if passed, would create a transient occupancy tax of 2% of the amount paid for the lodging by or for any such transient to any hotel, motel, boarding house, travel campground, or other facility offering guest accommodations rented out for continuous occupancy for fewer than 30 consecutive days.
If the board were to pass this, what kind of effective date?
This would also, this involves several more offices. It would definitely involve the Treasurer's Office and the Commissioner of Revenue's office. I know Ms. Kirby is here tonight. I don't know if you do a similar timeframe, January 1, 2024. I would defer to Ms. Kirby, not to put her on the spot, but I don't know if that would provide them time.
I don't think she has to worry about it then.
No, she won't have to worry about that part, no. But as far as the timing, I would ask that we have some time to get that implemented.
If we were to adopt it using January the 1st, and then the Commissioner of Revenue and Treasurer's Office found that they need more time, we could change that, but how would we do that? A separate public hearing and ordinance and all like that, Mr. Gregory, or do you know?
I would recommend you just set it for January 1st,
Okay.
and then they just implement it as when they can.
Gotcha. All right. All right, I just want to find out our options.
You recommend, Mr. Gregory, doing it as January 1st, 2024? Okay, I just couldn't quite hear you, that's all. Just want to make sure. All right, any other board members got any comments before I open the public hearing? All right, if not, open the public hearing. I have Jim Johnson.
Jim Johnson again, I'm here in support of it. I believe as you look with the expansion of short-term rentals across the nation, Northumberland may face a point that you may not have the typical motels being built since people are going to short-term rentals. There's a cost to providing these services. And I think the county is well served to implement a 2% tax on that and use that to offset other general fund expenditures and to try to keep the real estate tax rate as low as possible by taxing the people who are using the services. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Next person is Jeff Bramble.
I think I need to be on his team because his team wins. Same thing I just said, that we just keep going down this path and it's very disappointing, but I know that what the decision is. So.
Thank you. Have no one else on the sheet that signed up? Anyone else like to speak? Anyone else like to speak tonight? All right, would anyone in the virtual world like to speak? Anyone in the virtual world like to speak tonight? No one? All right, don't have anyone else that wants to speak. I'll close the public hearing. The matters before the board.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve this transient occupancy tax effective January the 1st, 2024.
All right,
Second.
got a motion and a second. Got any other discussion?
My comments, I incorporate the comments I made regarding the other taxes regarding this, the cigarette tax.
All right,
It increases taxes without putting on the burden of the real estate tax.
real estate, yes. All right, thank you, Mr. Thomas. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against say. All right, motion passes. Next is a consideration of amending Chapter 34, Animals. That right?
Yes, sir. A consideration of amending Chapter 34 Animals of the Northumberland County Code of Ordinances to replace the annual dog license with a lifetime dog license of $20 effective January 1, 2024. New lifetime tags would go on sale in the fall of 2023. Other licenses, kennel, vicious, and dangerous dog replacement tag, will remain the same.
All right, does the board have any comments? All right, Ms. Kirby, would you like to comment on this?
I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
All right, okay. Thank you, ma'am. All right, if I don't have anyone wants to comment, I'll open the public hearing. I have no one on the sign-up sheet that wants to speak, but would anyone like to speak? Anyone like to speak on this issue? All right, would anyone in the virtual world like to speak on this issue on the dog license? Anyone in the virtual world like to speak on this issue? No one? All right, I'll close the public hearing. The matters before the board.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt this proposal for a lifetime license.
Lifetime license adopted.
Second.
Do you need to read?
No.
No, don't need to read that. All right. Got a motion and a second. Do I have any other questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those against? All right. Next one. In order to consider an amendment to the fiscal year 2024 budget. Mr. Tadlock.
Yes, sir. This is a fiscal year 24 budget amendment for the purposes of appropriating and budgeting monies for the ARPA carryover funds, which are county funds, school division, the sheriff's office, and the sanitary district. The total amount being budgeted is $1,883,978.16.
All right. Do I have any comments or questions from the board? Before I open the public hearing. All right, I'll open the public hearing. First person on the sign-up sheet is Karen Piker.
Hi, Karen Pica, 288 Stillwater Drive, Hayesville, Virginia. I am rising in opposition, if you will. I recognize this is a formality because this has already been approved, and this is to do the appropriations. Carryover funds are not an issue. My main concern is the $304,000 for the school health insurance and bus driver benefits. We've had several actions that we've had to take, you guys have had to take at this board meeting that are in direct response to the over 10.5%, almost 11% annual increase in the school board budget since 2017. And I think we've just placed burden on businesses. We've added taxes to citizens, even if they're not property taxes, they're still taxes. I completely understand not wanting to raise property taxes. One of the reasons I joined the Economic Development Commission was to try to come up with new ways to, or Mr. Tomlin appointed me, was to try to come up with new ways to help the county find some additional revenue. The primary issue here is I could find no analysis that would identify what this cost is going to be in the out years. So I could find no analysis that would say this is a one-year cost. This is a $304,000 increase to the budget this year. Does that mean it ends after this year? Is there a sunset clause on these costs? What are the costs for next year? Are there additional benefits that are going to be provided? We all know health insurance is going up. So this is a $304,000 cost this year. What is it next year? What is it in 2 years? What is it in 5 years? I could find no analysis anywhere on the school board site or any materials that were presented to the Board of Supervisors that really identified what the true cost is here or if this is a sunset cost. So we've just wiped out the cigarette tax revenue. Even if you take out the 15% that goes to the board, that's about $127,000 a year that may come for the cigarette tax. That doesn't even cover this cost. So I rise in with questions related to what we're doing for analysis for out year. I recognize that I have an opportunity to affect some of those analyses in the future. I just wanted to express my concern, not that we're giving benefits, but that we're really thinking about what the true costs are here, because the fiscal stress on this county is only going to increase probably, I would estimate 4.5% to 5%. That cost will go up every year. That's all.
Thank you. Next person is Fred Nutt. Stepped out. All right, Charles Williams. You're going to pass. All right. No one else on the sign-up sheet? Would anyone else like to speak?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that cost, that was the original cost for the health insurance from bus driver benefits? Was that health insurance for bus driver benefits, or was that the 9% increase for all the school employees? Because that is not correct for health insurance and bus driver benefits.
It says school health insurance and bus driver benefits.
But originally in the
where's the
budget,
break-
it was $303,000. Am I wrong?
Correct. That was tied to, it was an $84,000 amount that was approved by the board, and the amount 84 minus whatever that is, it was an additional amount for the other portions. The breakout of it was instruction, $166,016. Administration and health was $26,668. Transportation was $84,000. Operations and maintenance, $23,076, and the technology was $3,936.
So it's not all health insurance. The 9% increase that you all awarded to the school system matched what the 9% increase for the other county employees. And the health insurance benefits for the bus drivers, I believe only 6 bus drivers took advantage of that.
I think what information we got was 4.
Well, then there were 2 that were kind of holdouts, and I hadn't heard whether they decided or not.
40-some thousand dollars you've spent out of 84?
For the health insurance. But every year you go back and we renegotiate the budget in terms of the health insurance benefits. So they go up different amounts, different years. So as far as being a recurring expense, you look at that every year. Offering health insurance to 4 bus drivers, I can't, you don't know how many there will be next year, in answer to Ms. Dr. Pica's question.
Okay. Anyone else like to speak? Would anyone in the virtual world like to speak on this budget amendment? Anyone in the virtual world like to speak on this budget amendment? No one? All right. I'll close the public hearing. The matter is before the board.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt this resolution amending the budget with the figure that's stated in the resolution.
Second.
Want me to read every one of those? All right, the total is $1,883,978.16.
Right.
All right, I have a motion, and I have a second. Is there any other discussion on this?
The only discussion, I appreciate Ms. Piker's concern or analysis, but if anybody can figure out analysis on health insurance, 1 year out, much less 5 years, good luck. I mean, if you really want to look at the cost, look at Bon Secours and Anthem, the fight they're going on. And obviously, then if you want to try to do analysis, figure out what a new car or vehicle might cost tomorrow with 3 major automobiles being struck, and what the United Auto Workers, I'm not saying they're entitled to money, but you look at a 40% increase and working 32 hours a week but get paid 40 plus the benefits. I mean, you look at the cost. I mean, those are the analysis you can't do. I would love to know what the health insurance for everybody would be next year or 5 years out. That's just beyond the realm of any crystal ball that I'm aware of. But I appreciate the question. So, and again, the increase on the school health insurance was to match what the county employees got. They did not have that or it was in their budget, but it didn't get included, whatever. But and like I said, I always try to keep employees, regardless of the scenario, to be equal, because you don't like to single out in that regard. Sometimes the General Assembly says this person gets that, we can't do that, so.
Anything else?
Nope.
Anyone else have any comments?
No.
Ms. Sterrett, your bus drivers, you only have 4 of them that have a
The last thing I heard, there were 2 that were wavering. They couldn't decide if they wanted to do the extra hours. And I know there are 4 definites. There were 6 originally. We thought maybe they would take advantage of it. But if you've heard 4, Dr. Warville would have to tell you exactly what it is. Last thing I heard was 6. And 2 didn't want to do the 37 hours, so they were.
Full benefits. Like United Auto Workers.
What do you say?
Sound like United Auto Workers.
United Auto Worker, yeah. Yeah, they want a 4-day week, but get paid for 5.
If they need the health insurance, they'll have to do the extra hours.
Yes.
Right.
All right. Any other comments? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against? All right. I guess that motion passes.
Yep. I didn't hear any nays.
No. All right, I have nothing else on the agenda tonight for public hearings. Board members have anything else that they want to discuss? One thing I want to know, on this cigarette tax. And we put that money into a CIP plan that's going to benefit the county buildings here.
Do what you want with it.
Yeah, and actually, that's what I would suggest, is that go to build the CIP fund.
All right, that's my motion, to put all monies coming in from the CIP, coming in from the cigarette tax, to go into a CIP fund.
Were you thinking about all the money, Mr. Taylor?
Yes, sir. Just from the standpoint that instead of using general fund monies, not to say you can't add additional monies to the capital improvement program, but I feel like that using those monies, you could start building the CIP funds by using those funds.
And you got to realize, I anticipate my analysis. You're going to see there's less people smoking now, and there will be in the future. It's not going to be a big revenue source.
No, it's not going to be a big
But that's why it's, instead of trying to tie it into some cost that will go up, this is a way, to my opinion, to fund our CIP without relying upon other things.
Yep, it takes a little bit of the burden off the taxpayer as far as real estate.
And that's the best guess that we have right now is
Yeah, well, I know.
$150,000 to $200,000, and that's based off of other localities with similar makeups.
All right. Any other discussion? Did I get a second on that?
Yeah, I did second.
All
Or
right.
either, I don't care if it is.
Whoever say, all right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any other business?
We need to stay open any
We
reason
need
that
a
you know
cutoff.
of?
Do we need to stay open?
I don't know of any reason other than we need to take any action related to the request by the electoral board to advertise anything. But we can, if you want to close it, we can call
We
that
can either
meeting.
close it or and call a special meeting, or we can leave it open.
I would just
I
close it.
close it. I move it, we close the meeting.
All right, we got a motion to adjourn. Have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank y'all, ladies and gentlemen, for coming tonight.